The baby shower was perfect, like something out of a Pinterest board. Blush pink and gold balloons, a dessert table that looked too beautiful to eat, and little games with prizes racked and tall. I stood in the corner, holding my gift, a handmade quilt I'd spent 3 months creating, each square representing a milestone in my daughter Olivia's life. "Can I have everyone's attention?" Olivia clinked her champagne flute, filled with sparkling cider, against her wedding ring. The backyard full of guests turned toward her, all smiles and anticipation. My heart swelled with pride. My baby girl, 27 years old, married, successful in her marketing career, about to become a mother herself. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed, had led to this moment. "I just wanted to thank everyone for coming," Olivia began, her hand resting on her 7-month bump. "And I have a special announcement to make." I straightened up, thinking perhaps she'd reveal the baby's name or thank me for planning the shower. Even though her stepmother Carolyn had taken credit for the organization, I'd done most of the actual work, sending invitations, coordinating catering, assembling party favors during my lunch breaks. "As you all know, family is everything to me," Olivia continued, "and I'm so grateful that my baby will have such an amazing grandmother." I smiled, ready for the acknowledgement. "Carolyn," Olivia turned to where my ex-husband Mark's wife sat in a place of honor, "you're going to be the real grandma to this baby. Thank you for showing me what it means to prioritize family. Unlike some people, you were always there, never too busy with work to show up." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped my gift tighter, the fabric of the quilt rough against my suddenly sweaty palms. Olivia wasn't done. My mom never had time for us growing up. Always at the hospital, always on call, always missing the important moments. "But Carolyn, you showed me what a real mother looks like. Someone who puts family first. And I know you'll be the grandmother my baby deserves." The backyard fell silent except for the awkward shifting of guests who knew our family history. My sister Claire shot me a horrified look from across the garden. Even some of Olivia's friends looked uncomfortable. I set my gift down on the nearest table, picked up my purse, and walked out. No scene, no tears. Just a quiet exit from my daughter's perfect baby shower where I'd been publicly designated as the grandmother who wouldn't matter. The drive home was a blur. I made it to my apartment before the shaking started. 27 years. 27 years of working double shifts as an ER physician to provide for Olivia after Mark left us for his secretary, now his wife Carolyn. Never had time for us. I laughed bitterly, pacing my living room. I thought about all those missed moments Olivia referenced. Yes, I'd missed some school plays while saving lives in the emergency room. Yes, I'd been late to parent-teacher conferences because traumas don't follow school schedules. Yes, there were birthday parties where I showed up still in scrubs, exhausted from a 36-hour shift. But I was also the one who held her through every illness, who paid for her college without a single loan, who worked extra shifts to afford her dance classes, her piano lessons, her study abroad program in Paris. I was the one who made sure she had everything she needed, even if it meant I went without. And Carolyn had swooped in when Olivia was 15, when the hard work was done, when the sleepless nights with a colicky baby were over, when the endless driving to activities was finished, when the expensive years of raising a child had passed. Carolyn got to be the fun stepmom with her part-time real estate job and her flexible schedule. She got to attend afternoon recitals and weekend tournaments because someone else, me, was paying the bills. My phone buzzed. "Claire." "Jenna, what the hell was that? I'm about to go full auntie on your daughter." "Don't," I said tiredly. "Let her have her moment." Her moment of what? Publicly humiliating the woman who sacrificed everything for her. She's made her choice. Carolyn is going to be the real grandmother. I'm just the one who was never there. "Jenna, I need to go, Claire. I'll call you later." I hung up and did what I always did when life hurt too much. I dove into work. But this time, I also dove into my finances. The college fund I'd started the day Olivia was born contributed to faithfully even when it meant I ate ramen for dinner, closed and transferred to my retirement account. The savings account earmarked for baby expenses, the one I'd been building to help with the astronomical costs of childcare, redirected to a vacation fund. I'd always wanted to see Greece. The check I'd written for the daycare deposit at the prestigious center near Olivia's house. Canceled. The nursery furniture set I'd ordered as a surprise to be delivered next week. Order canceled, full refund requested. The family health insurance plan that still covered Olivia because I'd kept her on as a dependent, she'd be removed at the next enrollment period. Every financial tie, every plan support, every safety net I'd quietly maintained, gone. If Carolyn was going to be the real grandmother, she could handle the real costs too. Monday came with its usual chaos at the hospital. I threw myself into my work, the one place where my presence mattered, where being there made a difference between life and death. It was Tuesday evening when my phone exploded with calls. First Olivia, then Mark, then a number I didn't recognize. I was in the middle of suturing a particularly nasty laceration and ignored them all. During my break, I listened to the first voicemail. Olivia, panicked. Mom, the daycare called. They said the deposit check bounced. That's not possible. Can you call me back? Mark, angry. Jenna, what's this about canceling the nursery furniture? Olivia's in tears. The boutique called to say the order was canceled and the items are no longer available. The unknown number revealed to be Olivia's husband, Paul. Mrs. Thompson, I'm sorry to bother you, but Olivia's really upset. Could you please call us back? We don't understand what's happening with the daycare and the furniture. She's 7 months pregnant and the stress isn't good for her. Paul. Sweet Paul, who had no idea his wife had just publicly dismissed the woman funding their child's future. I called him back. Paul, hello, I got your message. Oh, thank God, Mrs. T. Olivia's beside herself. The daycare is saying we never paid the deposit, but she swears you were handling it. And the nursery furniture. Yes, I canceled both. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? Why? Didn't Olivia tell you? Carolyn is going to be the baby's real grandmother. The one who prioritizes family. I assumed she'd want to handle these grandmother duties as well. Mrs. T, I don't understand. Ask your wife about her speech at the baby shower. About how I never had time for her. About how Carolyn showed her what a real mother looks like. Then ask yourself why someone who was never there would be expected to pay for daycare. She said what? His voice was sharp now, confused. Paul, you're a good man. But your wife made it very clear that I'm not the grandmother who matters, so I'm stepping back and letting the real grandmother step up. Mrs. T, we can't afford. The daycare deposit alone is $3,000. The furniture was another $4,000. We budgeted thinking. You budgeted thinking I'd cover it. Like I've covered everything for 27 years while being told I was never there. This has to be a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. Olivia was very clear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have patients to attend to. You know, the job that kept me too busy to be a real mother. I hung up and went back to work. The next few days were a masterclass in consequences. Olivia called repeatedly, leaving increasingly frantic voicemails. Mom, please call me back. The daycare gave our spot to someone else. Mom, Paul told me what you said. That's not what I meant at the shower. Mom, we can't find nursery furniture anywhere that will deliver before the baby comes. Mom, please, I'm stressed and the doctor says my blood pressure is elevated. That last one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered standing in that backyard, holding a quilt made with love, listening to my daughter erase 27 years of sacrifice in favor of a woman who'd been around for 12. Mark called next, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. Jenna, this is ridiculous. You're punishing Olivia for a few poorly chosen words. Poorly chosen. She planned that speech, Mark. She stood up at an event I helped organize and told everyone that Carolyn was the only mother figure who mattered. She was trying to make Carolyn feel included. By excluding me. By dismissing everything I did. Tell me, Mark, where was Carolyn when Olivia had pneumonia at age 3? When she needed emergency surgery at 7? When she cried for a week straight after you left us? That's not fair. No, what's not fair is working myself to the bone for 27 years only to be told I was never there. What's not fair is being erased in favor of your wife who got to play mommy after all the hard work was done. So you're going to what? Abandon your daughter when she needs you most. I'm giving her what she asked for. A grandmother who prioritizes family. Carolyn prioritizes family, right? So let her prioritize this. Carolyn can't afford to be the grandmother she's been playing at being? How interesting. The real explosion came Saturday morning. Olivia showed up at my door, 7 months pregnant and furious. "How could you?" she demanded, pushing past me into my apartment. "How could you cancel everything without telling me? How could you stand up at your baby shower and tell everyone I was an absent mother?" I countered, closing the door calmly. "I didn't say absent. You said I never had time for you, that I was always too busy with work, that Carolyn showed you what a real mother looks like. I was trying to honor her. By dishonoring me." Olivia sank onto my couch, her anger deflating. "I didn't mean it that way. Stop saying that. You meant exactly what you said. You've been saying it in little ways for years. Every time you thanked Carolyn for being at some event and pointedly didn't thank me for paying for it. Every time you posted on social media about your bonus mom who chose to love you while I was working to keep you fed and housed. Mom, do you know why I missed your junior high production of Annie? Because you were working. Because a 6-year-old came in coding. Car accident. I was the only doctor available who could save her. So yes, I chose to save a life over watching you sing tomorrow, and you've held it against me ever since." Tears were streaming down Olivia's face now. I didn't know. You didn't ask. You just let Carolyn convince you that I was a bad mother because I had a demanding career. Never mind that career paid for everything you had. Mom, I'm sorry. I know you are. You're sorry because the daycare spot is gone and the furniture is canceled and suddenly the grandmother who was never there is the only one who could actually provide for your child. That's not why, isn't it? Tell me, Olivia. If I reinstate everything right now, pay for the daycare, buy new furniture, continue being your financial safety net, what changes? Do I suddenly become the real grandmother, or do I go back to being the one who works too much while Carolyn gets the credit? She couldn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to figure this out with your husband and your real grandmother. You're going to learn what it actually costs to raise a child. And maybe, just maybe, you'll understand that being there isn't just about showing up to recitals. It's about working doubles to pay for the recital costume. It's about missing a recital because you're saving lives to afford the recital lessons. Mom, please. The baby. We'll be fine. You have a good husband, a decent job, and a stepmother who prioritizes family. You'll figure it out. I did, with far less support and a toddler to raise alone. Olivia left, still crying. I felt no satisfaction, only a deep, bone-weary sadness. The next 2 weeks were a cascade of family drama. Claire read Olivia the riot act. My mother, usually neutral, told Olivia she was ashamed to have a granddaughter who could be so cruel. Paul, caught in the middle, tried to mediate but was clearly struggling with his new understanding of his wife's character. And Carolyn? Carolyn was conspicuously silent. Until she wasn't. She called on a Tuesday afternoon. "Jenna," she started, her voice lacking its usual artificial warmth. "We need to talk about this situation." "What situation? You're the real grandmother. Handle it." "You know I can't afford." "Can't afford what?" "To be the grandmother you've been pretending to be. To actually support the family you claim to prioritize. That's not fair. Mark and I have our own expenses. So did I, a mortgage, student loans, a child to raise alone. Didn't stop me from providing everything Olivia needed. This is petty. This is reality. You wanted the title without the responsibility. You wanted to be the fun grandma who shows up for photos while I handle the bills. Not anymore. She's your daughter. And according to her, you're her real mother figure. So figure it out." I hung up on her, something I'd wanted to do for 12 years. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. Olivia was 8 months pregnant, stressed and desperate. The daycare situation was a disaster. Every good place had wait lists, and the ones available were either too expensive or too far from her work. Without my connections in the community, she was just another name on a list. Paul called me, and for the first time he was angry. Not at me, at his wife. "I need you to know something," he said. "I didn't know. About the shower, about what she said. I was in the garage with the guys, helping set up. I only found out when my mother told me. She was appalled." "Paul." "No, please let me finish. I've spent 3 weeks watching my pregnant wife scramble to fix problems she created. Watching her expect Carolyn to step up and seeing Carolyn make excuses. Watching her slowly realize that the mother she dismissed is the only one who actually supported her. What do you want me to say?" "Nothing. I want you to know that I see you. I see what you did for Olivia, and I'm sorry my wife doesn't. Is she taking care of herself? The stress. She's okay. Her blood pressure is better. Her mom, her dad, and Carolyn, they finally contributed some money for a cheaper daycare. Not what you had arranged, but it'll work. Good. Mrs. T. I grew up with a single mom too. Worked 2 jobs, missed some stuff, but never missed the important things, like making sure I had what I needed. Olivia, she confused presents with presents, but I think she's starting to understand the difference. That evening, Olivia called. Her voice was different, subdued. Real? Mom, I know you probably don't want to talk to me. I'll always talk to you, Olivia. You're my daughter, even if I'm not the grandmother who matters. You are, she said quietly. You're the only one who matters. I was stupid and cruel. And I bought into this idea that love looks like showing up to every event with a camera and posting about it on Facebook. Carolyn was always there because she could be. You weren't because you were working. For me, for us. I didn't respond, letting her work through it. Do you know what Carolyn said when I asked her to help with the daycare deposit? She said they couldn't afford it because they're renovating their kitchen. Their kitchen, Mom, while I'm trying to figure out how to afford care for their grandchild. I see. No, you saw it all along. That she was performative. That her prioritizing family only extended to the fun parts. Not the hard parts. Not the expensive parts. Not the sacrificial parts. What do you want from me, Olivia? Nothing, she said, surprising me. I mean, God, yes. I need help. Paul and I are drowning trying to figure this out on our income alone. But that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling because I need my mom. My real mom. The one who worked 36-hour shifts and still made it to my high school graduation. The one who taught me strength even if I was too blind to see it. Olivia. I'm calling because I'm about to become a mother and I'm terrified. Because I don't know how to do what you did. How to sacrifice without making your child feel guilty. How to provide without keeping score. How to love someone so much that you'll work yourself to exhaustion just to give them opportunities. You'll learn, I said softly. Every mother does. Will you teach me? Not Carolyn with her Pinterest-perfect ideas of motherhood. You, the woman who actually did it. We talked for 2 hours. About motherhood, sacrifice, the weight of providing, the exhaustion of being everything to a tiny person who depends on you. About how love sometimes looks like missing the dance recital because you're stitching up someone else's child in the ER. I have something for you, I said finally. Your baby shower gift. I never got to give it to you. The quilt, she whispered. Aunt Claire told me about it, said you'd worked on it for months. Every square is a memory. Your first Christmas, your first day of school, your college acceptance letter. All the moments I was there for, even if you don't remember them all. She was crying again. Can I come see it? Can we start over? We can try. It wasn't instant. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But slowly, carefully, we began again. Olivia would come over, and I'd teach her what I knew about babies, about motherhood, about surviving on no sleep and too much caffeine. I helped with the baby expenses, not as much as I'd originally planned, but enough. More importantly, I helped with the knowledge, the support, the 3 a.m. phone calls when the baby wouldn't stop crying. Carolyn faded into the background, showing up for scheduled visits and photo opportunities, but never for the hard nights or difficult decisions. The baby came on a Tuesday, of course, while I was at work. But this time, I was able to leave, to be there when my granddaughter entered the world. Olivia grabbed my hand in the delivery room. Mom, she said through the pain, I need you. I need my mom. I'm your baby. I'm always here, even when it looks like I'm not. Later, as I held my granddaughter for the first time, Olivia said quietly, I want her to know her grandmother, her real grandmother. The one who saves lives and sacrifices everything and loves beyond measure. She will, I promised. I'm naming her after you, she added. If that's okay, Jenna Marie. After the strongest woman I know. I cried then, 27 years of complicated love, misunderstanding, and sacrifice, wrapped up in a tiny person with my name. Mom, Olivia said, I'm sorry it took me so long to see you, really see you. You see me now, I said, handing her the baby. That's what matters. And it was. Not the public declaration at the baby shower. Not the years of feeling unseen, but this moment in a hospital room that smelled like my second home, with 3 generations of women who understood that love sometimes wears scrubs and works double shifts and misses recitals to save for futures. That's what real grandmothers do. They show up when it counts, even if it's not always when you want them to. Especially then.
I gripped my wine glass tighter as my sister's tears splashed onto the pristine, white tablecloth of our family's favorite restaurant. Right on cue, as always. My name is Riley, and I was about to become the villain of yet another perfect family dinner. The doctor says this is our last chance, Zoe sobbed while her husband Kelvin rubbed her shoulder with practiced precision. The next round of IVF costs twice as much, but it's our only hope. Mother reached across the table to clasp Zoe's free hand. Darling, we'll find a way. Won't we, Collins? She shot my father that look, the one that meant someone's checkbook was about to take a hit. I took another sip of wine, hoping to disappear into the background, but in this family, neutrality wasn't an option. Riley! My father's voice carried that familiar edge. Your sister needs our support. All of our support. I set my glass down carefully. I've already contributed to the last 3 rounds. And yet, you still have that ridiculous car sitting in your garage, Mother cut in, while your sister suffers. The mention of my car sent ice through my veins. My 1967 Mustang, the only thing Aunt Grace left me, the one piece of my life they hadn't managed to monetize for Zoe's benefit. The car isn't for sale, I said flatly. Zoe's tears intensified. I just want to be a mother. Is that so wrong? Of course not, sweetheart. Mother soothed, while shooting daggers at me with her eyes. Some people just don't understand the sacred calling of motherhood. I caught Kelvin's gaze across the table. He looked away quickly. Too quickly. He always did. I understand perfectly, I said. I understand that I've already given $30,000 to this cause. I understand that being child-free doesn't make me less of a woman, and I understand that my car is not family property to be redistributed. How dare you, Mother hissed, after everything we've done for you? The restaurant suddenly felt too small, too warm. A couple at the next table was trying not to stare. Everything you've done for me? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Like what exactly? Riley, my father warned. This isn't the place. It never is it? I stood up, my napkin falling to the floor. There's never a right place or time to discuss anything except Zoe's next treatment, Zoe's next need, Zoe's next... I know someone, Kelvin interrupted suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. A collector. He'd give you top dollar for the Mustang, more than enough for the treatment. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at each of their faces. Mother's righteous anger, father's stern disapproval, Zoe's perfectly timed tears, and Kelvin's carefully avoided gaze. You've already talked to this person, haven't you? I asked quietly. Father cleared his throat. Renee Benson. He's a trusted friend of an old colleague. He's willing to make it worth your while. Worth my while? The words tasted bitter. Like selling my soul is worth my while? Don't be dramatic, Mother snapped. It's just a car. Your sister's happiness is at stake. I sat back down slowly, my mind racing. They'd planned this ambush, probably for weeks. They knew exactly how to play it. The public setting to prevent a scene, the tears, the guilt, the pressure. Riley, Zoe whispered, reaching for my hand. Please, you're my only hope. I pulled my hand away and reached for my wine again. The liquid burned going down, but not as much as the words I was about to say. I'll think about it. Mother's face lit up. Oh, darling. I said I'll think about it. I cut her off. That's not a yes. But it wasn't a no either. And as I watched relief wash over their faces, something dark and cold settled in my chest. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd finally broken me. They had no idea what they'd actually done. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. The contact name X glowed on my screen as I typed. They took the bait. The car will be available soon. The response came almost immediately. Everything in place. Just say when. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, hardly recognizing the woman who stared back. She looked dangerous. She looked ready. When I returned to the table, I managed a small smile. I'll talk to your collector, Kelvin. Set up a meeting. Oh, Riley! Zoe threw her arms around me. You're the best sister ever. Over her shoulder, I caught Kelvin's eye again. This time, he held my gaze, and I saw something there. Fear, maybe. He should be afraid. They all should be. The notifications wouldn't stop. Every time my phone buzzed, it was another reminder of my impending sacrifice. Just wanted to share this miracle story of a woman who tried IVF 7 times. Zoe's message glowed in our family group chat. God works in mysterious ways. You're blessed, shall never give up. I clicked my phone off and walked into my garage. The Mustang sat there, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Aunt Grace's pride and joy, the only person in our family who ever really saw me. My phone buzzed again. Mother this time. Mr. Benson can come tomorrow at 2 p.m. Don't be difficult about this, Riley. I ran my hand along the car's smooth hood, remembering the day Aunt Grace handed me the keys. This car holds secrets, she'd said with a wink. Just like you and me, kiddo. If they only knew how right she'd been. The doorbell rang, startling me from my thoughts. I opened it to find Brinley, my best friend since 3rd grade, holding 2 bottles of wine. Thought you might need this after the family dinner from hell, she said, pushing past me into the house. Zoe's Instagram post was particularly nauseating. I followed her to the kitchen. You saw that? Grateful for family who sacrifice everything for my journey to motherhood, Brinley quoted, rolling her eyes as she uncorked a bottle. I wanted to vomit in my mouth. They're taking the car, Bryn. The wine bottle clattered against the counter. What? No, no way. That's your baby. I took a long swig straight from the bottle. The buyer's coming tomorrow. Tell them to go to hell. They can't just. Actually, I interrupted, I want them to take it. Brinley stared at me. Okay, who are you and what have you done with my friend? I grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the garage. The wine sloshed in the bottle as she stumbled after me. Remember last year when I did that DNA test? I asked, opening the car door. Yeah, the one your mom freaked out about and demanded you cancel. I reached under the dashboard, feeling for the hidden latch Aunt Grace had shown me. The secret compartment popped open. I never canceled it, I said, pulling out a sealed envelope. And I found these in Aunt Grace's things after she died. Brinley's eyes widened as she scanned the old letters. Holy shit. Is Xavier Paul your real father? Keep reading. Her gasp echoed in the garage. Kelvin knew. He took money to keep quiet about your mom's affair? $200,000, I confirmed, right before he married Zoe. But why is this stuff in the car? My phone buzzed again. Another message from Mother. Mr. Benson is very excited about the car. Such a blessing. I smiled grimly. Because Aunt Grace knew they'd never look here, and now Mr. Benson, who happens to work for Xavier, is going to find it. Riley? Brinley's voice was careful. What exactly are you planning? I took another drink. Justice. Or revenge. Maybe both. This will destroy them, she whispered. Your mom's reputation. Zoe's marriage. They're destroying themselves, I corrected. I'm just providing the evidence. My phone lit up with a text from Kelvin. Thank you for doing this for Zoe. You're making the right choice. Brinley watched me delete his message. Does Xavier know about all this? He knows enough. I closed the compartment. He's wanted the truth to come out for years. Now he'll have proof. And the car? Your precious Mustang? I patted the hood one last time. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to win the game. Brinley grabbed the wine bottle from me. This isn't chess, Riley. These are people's lives. They should have thought about that before they tried to take mine apart, piece by piece. My phone buzzed yet again. Zoe had posted another Instagram story, a photo of us at dinner, her eyes wet with tears, me looking away. The caption read, Sisters by blood, united by love. Blessed one of journey, family first. I showed it to Brinley. See? They're writing the story themselves, the perfect family, the desperate would-be mother, the selfish sister who finally does the right thing. And then? And then reality hits. I closed the garage door, leaving the Mustang in darkness. Mr. Benson comes tomorrow, finds the documents exactly where he knows to look, and the dominoes start falling. Brinley followed me back inside, shaking her head. You're scary when you're calculating. I learned from the best. I poured us each a proper glass of wine. They taught me that family means sacrifice. I'm just taking the lesson to heart. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from X. Benson is ready. No turning back after tomorrow. I raised my glass to Brinley, to family secrets. She clinked her glass against mine, her eyes worried. To whatever comes next. In the garage, the Mustang sat silent, waiting for tomorrow, holding its secrets for just one more night. The whole family showed up to watch me sign away my car. Mother even brought champagne, like we were celebrating a wedding instead of a funeral. "Mr. Benson!" she practically sang as she opened the door. "We're so grateful you could make this work on such short notice." Renee Benson looked exactly like the photo Xavier had sent. Tall, professional, with eyes that missed nothing. He shook my hand firmly. "The pleasure's mine. I've been looking for a classic Mustang for quite some time. Isn't this wonderful?" Zoe clapped her hands together. "Everything's falling into place." I caught Benson studying the family dynamics with careful interest. Mother hovering, father pretending to check his phone, Kelvin standing slightly apart, and Zoe always center stage. "Shall we look at the car?" Benson suggested. In the garage, he circled the Mustang slowly, professionally. I remembered being 7 years old, watching Uncle Xavier do the same thing at a family barbecue. "Beautiful condition," Benson murmured, running his hand along the hood. "Your aunt taught you well." Mother's head snapped up. "How did you know about her aunt?" "Riley mentioned it during our phone call." He covered smoothly. "Quite a legacy to pass down." I forced a smile. "Yes, Aunt Grace loved this car more than anything." "Except you," Mother cut in sharply, "though heaven knows why." The garage fell silent. Benson's eyebrows rose slightly as he opened the driver's door. "Mind if I check the engine?" he asked. "Go ahead." I handed him the keys, our fingers brushing deliberately. "Check everything thoroughly." He popped the hood and bent over the engine, but I knew what he was really doing. The slight click of the hidden compartment was covered by his appreciative whistle. "Impressive maintenance," he said, straightening up. "I'll take it." Father stepped forward with the paperwork. "We've already drawn up the sale documents." Of course they had. They'd probably had them ready for weeks. As I signed the papers, Zoe hugged me tight. "You have no idea what this means to me." "Oh, I think I do," I muttered. Benson handed over a cashier's check, significantly more than the car was worth, as planned. Mother's eyes gleamed at the amount. "We can start the IVF right away," Zoe squealed. Kelvin shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe we should discuss the timing." "There's nothing to discuss," Mother interrupted. "Everything's perfect now." Benson cleared his throat. "I'll have the car transported this afternoon, if that works for everyone." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. The weight of what was about to happen pressed against my chest. "This calls for a toast." Mother pulled out the champagne. "To new beginnings." "And miracles," Zoe added, touching her flat stomach meaningfully. "And justice," I whispered, too quietly for anyone but Benson to hear. He gave me the slightest nod. As Mother poured champagne, my phone vibrated. A text from Xavier. "Done?" I typed back quickly. "Almost. Benson has it handled." "Then let's celebrate properly." Mother handed out glasses. "To family." "To family," everyone echoed. I raised my glass, but didn't drink. After they left, Benson lingered, pretending to make a call. Once we were alone, he handed me a small envelope. "Everything's in place," he said quietly. "The documents will be processed tomorrow." I took the envelope with trembling fingers. "And the timing?" 48 hours, maximum. Are you sure about this?" I thought about Mother's smug smile, Zoe's performative tears, Kelvin's guilty eyes, and Father's calculated indifference. "Completely sure." Benson nodded. "Then it's done. Don't contact Xavier until you hear from me." After he left with my car, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single photo, me at age 6, sitting on Xavier's lap at a family party. On the back, in Aunt Grace's handwriting, "The truth always comes out." My phone buzzed with a group text from Mother. "Celebrating our generous Riley. Family dinner tomorrow night." Zoe replied instantly with heart emojis. Kelvin sent a thumbs up. Father added, "Proud of you, daughter." I stared at the word daughter until my vision blurred. In 48 hours, they'd learn exactly what that word meant. Another text came through, this one from Brinley. "You okay?" I looked around my empty garage, the ghost of my Mustang still lingering in the air. No, I typed back. But I will be. Want company? Not tonight. I need to prepare for tomorrow's performance. The Last Supper? I smiled grimly. Something like that. I walked back into my house, the envelope heavy in my pocket. Tomorrow I'd play the role of the dutiful daughter one last time. I'd smile and accept their praise for my sacrifice. And then, like Aunt Grace always said, the truth would come out. All of it. Have you seen Zoe's latest post? Brinley dropped her phone on my desk at work. She's really milking this. I glanced at the screen, a photo of Zoe at the fertility clinic, Kelvin by her side, both smiling. The caption read, "Thanks to an angel's sacrifice, our miracle journey continues. Our blessed Eve sisters war family first." 78 comments, Brinley noted, all calling you an angel. I turned back to my computer. They don't know what kind of angel yet. Riley. Brinley's voice dropped. The car's been gone 3 days. When is Ms. Allen? My assistant poked her head in. Your mother's on line 1. Again? I sighed. Tell her I'm in a meeting. She says it's about tonight's dinner. Something about a special announcement? My stomach clenched. Of course there would be an announcement. Zoe never missed a chance to perform. Speaking of angels and demons, Brinley muttered as my assistant left. What's the announcement? Probably that the IVF took. That my car bought them a miracle. I checked my phone. No messages from Benson yet. Can they even know that soon? Since when does truth matter to my family? My phone buzzed, a text from Kelvin. Can we talk before dinner? Delete, I said out loud, hitting the button. Brinley peered at my screen. Kelvin's getting nervous? He should be. $200,000 of guilt money doesn't buy silence forever. Another buzz, mother this time. Wear something nice tonight. The Reverend is joining us. Perfect, I muttered. Let's add God to the witness list. Riley. Brinley grabbed my arm. Are you sure you want to be there when it all comes out? Before I could answer, my assistant returned. Miss Allen, there's someone here to see you. A Mr. Benson? My heart stopped. This wasn't part of the plan. Renee Benson stood in my office doorway, looking grave. Ms. Allen, a moment? Brinley squeezed my hand before leaving. Once we were alone, Benson closed the door. There's been a complication, he said quietly. What kind of complication? Your father, Xavier, he wants to move faster. The papers are being filed today. I gripped my desk. Today? But the dinner? Will be perfectly timed. Benson placed a manila envelope on my desk. The process servers have been instructed to arrive at 7 p.m. My mother's voice echoed in my head. Dinner at 6:30 sharp. Don't be late. They're all going to be there, I whispered. The whole family. The Reverend. Exactly as planned. Benson's eyes were kind but firm. This was always the end game, Riley. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were copies of the legal documents, paternity suits, fraud allegations, financial misconduct claims, all the secrets from my car, transformed into weapons. Xavier wanted you to see these first, Benson said. Once they're served, there's no going back. My phone buzzed again. Zoe, can't wait to share our blessing tonight. Love you, sis. I closed the envelope. Good. After Benson left, Brinley returned with coffee. Well, it's happening tonight. She sat down hard. Holy shit. At the dinner? Apparently, God works in mysterious ways. I checked the time. 2:30 p.m. Less than 5 hours until ground zero. My phone kept buzzing. Mother, don't forget, 6:30, wearing my pearls for the occasion. Father, proud of you, daughter. Tonight proves what family means. Kelvin, please, we need to talk. Zoe, bought a special dress for tonight. You're the best sister ever. I turned my phone off. What are you going to wear? Brinley asked, trying to lighten the mood. Black, I said. It's a funeral after all. For them, maybe. For you, it's justice. I stood up, gathering my things. Revenge? Freedom? All of the above. She hugged me tight. Want me to come? I shook my head. This is family only. That's what they always wanted, right? As I drove home to change, I passed the church where Reverend Thomas would soon be witnessing my family's undoing. The marquee out front read, "The truth shall set you free." My phone buzzed one last time before I turned into my driveway. A text from Xavier. "Are you ready?" I thought about Mother's pearls, Zoe's special dress, Father's proud smile, and Kelvin's desperate messages. I thought about years of lies, manipulation, and perfectly staged family photos. "Ready," I typed back. Then I went inside to prepare for my final performance as the perfect daughter. In less than 4 hours, the truth would set us all free, whether they wanted it or not. "Before we begin our meal," Reverend Thomas intoned, "let us give thanks for family and blessings." 6:57 p.m. My heart pounded as I bowed my head. 3 minutes. "And special thanks," Mother added, "for bringing us together to celebrate wonderful news." Zoe beamed, clutching Kelvin's hand. He looked like he might throw up. The doorbell rang. "Who could that be?" Mother frowned. "We're about to eat." "I'll get it." Father stood, but the housekeeper had already opened the door. Two men in suits entered the dining room. "Collins and Lillian?" One held up a badge. "Process server, you've been served." Mother's pearls clinked against her water glass as she snatched the envelope. "What is this nonsense? Zoe and Kelvin Lane?" The second server stepped forward with more papers. "You've also been served?" Zoe's perfect smile cracked. "What's happening?" "A civil suit," the first server explained professionally, "regarding paternity fraud, financial misconduct, and conspiracy to conceal familial identity." The room exploded. "This is outrageous," Father thundered. "Paternity?" Mother's face went white. "Financial misconduct?" Kelvin jumped up, backing away from the table. Only Reverend Thomas remained calm, watching the chaos unfold with growing understanding. "The plaintiff," the server continued, "Xavier Paul, alleges—" "Stop!" Mother screamed. "Don't you dare say another word!" But the damage was done. Zoe stared at our mother in horror. "Xavier? Uncle Xavier?" "Lillian." Father's voice was deadly quiet. "What have you done?" I sat silently, watching my mother's carefully constructed world crumble. Her hands shook as she tried to open the envelope. "Riley!" Kelvin's voice cut through the chaos. "Did you do this?" All eyes turned to me. "The car," Mother whispered. "The documents were in the car." "What documents?" Zoe demanded. "Perhaps," Reverend Thomas suggested gently, "we should all sit down." "Sit down?" Mother laughed hysterically. "My daughter just destroyed our family and you want to sit down?" "You destroyed this family?" I said quietly. "I just exposed the truth." Father ripped open his envelope, scanning the contents. His face turned gray. $200,000, Kelvin? That's what it took to buy your silence?" Zoe whirled on her husband. "What's he talking about?" "I can explain," Kelvin stammered. "Explain how you knew my sister was Uncle Xavier's daughter, how you took money to keep quiet." "Zoe, please, don't touch me." She stumbled back, knocking over her chair. "All this time, while we were trying for a baby." "You knew?" The process servers quietly let themselves out. Reverend Thomas stayed, a silent witness to the implosion. "I did this for us," Mother suddenly declared. "Everything I did was to protect this family." "Protect us?" I stood up slowly. "You mean protect yourself, your reputation, your perfect daughter, and your perfect life. You ungrateful—" "The DNA test confirmed it," I cut her off. "Xavier is my father, and Kelvin knew, and you all kept lying." "While taking my money for IVF treatments," Father added bitterly. "Treatments to give me a grandchild that wouldn't even be mine." Zoe ran from the room, sobbing. Kelvin followed, calling her name. "I trusted you," Father told Mother. 35 years of marriage, and you let me raise another man's child. "Collins, please. And you." He turned to me. "You orchestrated all this? With Xavier?" I met his gaze steadily. "I learned from the best. Family means sacrifice, right?" Mother lunged across the table, scattering glasses and plates. "You vindictive little—" "Lillian!" Reverend Thomas caught her arm. "That's enough." "Enough?" She wrenched away from him. "My daughter just destroyed everything." "No." I stood up. "You destroyed everything. The lies, the manipulation, the constant pressure to be perfect. That was all you." "Get out!" she hissed. Get out of my house! Gladly. I picked up my purse. But you might want to read those papers carefully. Xavier's lawyers are very thorough. Father sank into his chair, looking suddenly old. The media will have this by morning. Probably sooner, I confirmed. Truth travels fast these days. As if on cue, Mother's phone started buzzing. Then Father's. Then mine. I hope it was worth it, Mother spat. Destroying your sister's marriage, your father's trust. He's not my father, I said quietly. You made sure of that 32 years ago. I walked out of the dining room, past the untouched food and scattered papers. In the driveway, I could hear Zoe screaming at Kelvin. My phone buzzed with a text from Xavier. It's done. Are you okay? Before I could answer, Reverend Thomas appeared beside my car. That was quite a confession in there, he said mildly. I met his eyes. Sometimes confession is just another word for truth. He nodded slowly. And sometimes revenge is just another word for justice. I got into my car as the first news van turned onto our street. The truth was out, and it was only the beginning. Turn to Channel 7, Brinley said as soon as I answered my phone. Now. I flicked on my TV to see Mother's perfectly curated family photo splashed across the screen. The headline beneath read, Local Family's Dark Secret Exposed, Paternity Fraud and Financial Scandal. Jesus, I muttered. That was fast. It's everywhere, Brinley confirmed. Twitter, Facebook, local news. Your mother's charity board is already calling an emergency meeting. My phone buzzed with another call. Zoe. Ignore, I told Brinley. She's called 12 times since last night. What about Kelvin? He's too busy trying to save himself. Apparently he's offered to testify about the payoff. The TV switched to live footage outside my parents' house. Mother pushed through reporters, clutching her pearls, while Father walked separately to his car. In a shocking development, the reporter announced, sources claim prominent businessman Collins knew nothing of his wife Lillian's decades-long deception. Another call lit up my phone. Unknown number. Hello? Riley. Xavier's voice was warm but cautious. Are you watching? Hard not to. The lawyers want to meet, all of us, today. I glanced at the TV, where Mother was now shoving a microphone away from her face. Is that wise? It's necessary. They're freezing accounts, investigating the IVF clinic's finances. We need to move quickly. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Kelvin. I have to go, I told Xavier. Someone's here. Don't talk to anyone without the lawyers present. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Kelvin looked terrible. 5 minutes, he pleaded. Please. Why? So you can explain how $200,000 bought your silence? He ran his hands through his disheveled hair. Zoe won't talk to me. Her phone's been disconnected. I need to understand why you did this. Really? I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram. Look familiar? It was Zoe's post from 3 days ago. Me handing over my car keys, captioned, Angels walk among us, Skir blessed Warwick sister love. You destroyed us over some social media posts? No, I snapped. I exposed the truth about years of manipulation, lies, and fraud. The post just made it easier to stomach. His face hardened. You think you're so righteous? You have no idea what this will do to Zoe. Like you cared about Zoe when you took my father's hush money? Your father? He laughed bitterly. Which one? The man who raised you or the man who paid you to destroy us? My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Local fertility clinic under investigation. Fraudulent funding scheme exposed. I showed Kelvin the headline. Looks like your IVF miracle might have some legal complications. All color drained from his face. They can't. We already started the procedure. With money that's about to be frozen by federal investigators. I smiled coldly. Karma's funny that way. He grabbed my arm. You have to stop this. Get your hands off me. I yanked away. Or the assault charges can be added to your growing legal problems. Riley, please. His voice cracked. I love her. Love? I laughed. You loved money more than truth. Now you get neither. A car pulled into my driveway, a sleek black Mercedes. Xavier stepped out. Everything okay here? He called. Kelvin backed away. This isn't over. Actually, Xavier approached, his presence commanding. It is. My lawyers are expecting you at 2 p.m. Don't be late. We watched Kelvin drive away, tires screeching. You shouldn't be alone right now, Xavier said. They're desperate. I'm fine. Riley. He hesitated. I know this isn't about us, but I'd like to help. My phone buzzed yet again. A text from Zoe. How could you do this to me? I'm your sister. Half sister, I typed back, then deleted it. Instead, I turned to Xavier. Why did you wait so long? To claim me? Your mother threatened to disappear with both of you if I tried. He looked away. I thought letting you have a stable family was better than fighting. Some stability, I muttered. Another news alert. Prominent socialite Lillian steps down from Children's Charity Board amid scandal. Xavier touched my shoulder gently. The lawyers are waiting, ready to finish this. I looked at my phone one last time. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 5 news alerts, and 1 new Instagram post from Zoe, a black screen with white text. Sometimes those closest to you hold the sharpest knives. Betrayed, Gertschwar heartbroken. Yeah, I said, grabbing my keys. Let's finish it. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Mother's car turning onto my street, but I was done with perfect family dinners and staged photos and suffocating lies. The truth was messy and ugly and freeing, and I was just getting started. The law firm's conference room felt too small for all the hatred crackling through it. Mother sat at one end, Father at the other, Zoe huddled in the corner as far from Kelvin as possible. Xavier's presence by my side made Mother's jaw clench rhythmically. Let's begin. Xavier's lawyer opened a thick folder. The terms of settlement. Settlement? Mother barked out a laugh. You think you can buy your way out of destroying my family? You destroyed this family, Father cut in. 35 years, Lillian. 35 years of lies. The terms, the lawyer continued firmly, are non-negotiable. The evidence is substantial. Kelvin leaned forward. What evidence exactly? Bank transfers, another lawyer began listing. DNA results, letters, emails, your own signed agreement regarding the $200,000. That was private, Kelvin protested. Nothing's private anymore, I said quietly. Isn't that right, Mother? She turned on me, eyes blazing. You ungrateful little Mrs. Allen, Xavier's lawyer interrupted. Please control yourself. Now, regarding the fertility clinic. Zoe's head snapped up. What about the clinic? The lawyer shuffled some papers. The funds used for your treatments have been flagged for investigation. The FDA is involved. The FDA? Zoe's voice cracked. But I'm already... We started... The treatments will have to be suspended, the lawyer confirmed. Pending investigation. Zoe crumpled in on herself. For the first time, I felt a twinge of regret. This is what you wanted, isn't it? She whispered, looking at me. To make sure I never have a baby. No, I said. I wanted the truth. The truth? Kelvin stood up suddenly. You want truth? Here's truth. I took the money because your father offered it, because he knew what it would do to his precious reputation if people knew he'd raised another man's child. Father lunged across the table. 2 lawyers jumped between them. Enough! Xavier's voice cut through the chaos. The terms are simple. Collins, you'll step down from the company. Lillian, you'll forfeit your position on all charity boards. Kelvin, you'll sign a confession about the payoff. And what do you get? Mother spat. Your daughter? Your revenge? I get to finally claim my child, Xavier said quietly. The one you kept from me for 32 years. She was better off without you. Was I? I stood up slowly. Better off being the family disappointment? The daughter who was never quite good enough? Who had to give up everything for Zoe? I loved you, Mother screamed. Everything I did was for love. No, Father's voice was iced. Everything you did was for appearance, for your perfect family fantasy. Speaking of appearances, Xavier's lawyer interjected, the press is waiting for a statement. Mother blanched. Press? You can either sign the agreements now or we go public with everything. The lawyer spread out documents. Your choice. Kelvin grabbed a pen first. Where do I sign? Kelvin, Zoe gasped. How could you? It's over, Zoe, he said tiredly. The money, the treatments, all of it. It's over. Father signed next, not looking at anyone. Mother's hand shook as she picked up the pen. This isn't fair, she whispered. Fair? I laughed. Was it fair to lie to father for 35 years? To make me feel worthless because I wasn't Zoe? To force me to sell my car for treatments that were funded with fraud? Riley. Xavier touched my arm. It's done. Zoe was the last to sign, tears splashing onto the paper. I hope you're happy, she told me. I hope destroying everyone made you feel better. I met her eyes. I didn't destroy anyone. I just stopped letting them destroy me. The lawyers gathered the papers. Mother stood up, straightening her pearls one last time. You'll regret this, she said, when you're alone, when you have no family left. She has family, Xavier interrupted. She has me. And me, Father said unexpectedly. Everyone turned to stare at him. What? I raised her. DNA doesn't change that. Mother stormed out. Kelvin slunk after her. Zoe paused at the door. Was any of it real? She asked me. Did you ever love me at all? I loved you enough to tell you the truth, I said, even if it hurt. After they left, Xavier handed me an envelope. There's something else you should know. Inside was a medical report, my medical history, through his side of the family. The gene mutation, he said softly, the one that caused your aunt's cancer. You needed to know. I stared at the paper, understanding flooding through me. This was why Aunt Grace left me the car, why she made sure I'd find the truth. She'd saved my life one last time. Ready to go home? Xavier asked. I looked around the empty conference room at the scattered papers and abandoned coffee cups. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. The truth had set us all free, even if some of us didn't want it. Are you sure you want to post this? Brinley peered at my laptop screen. Once it's out there, it needs to be my version, I said, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Not Mother's press statement or Zoe's tearful interviews. The Reddit post was already long. The car, the DNA test, the family manipulation, all of it. I'd ended it with a question. Was revenge worth the cost? Speaking of costs, Brinley nodded toward my TV, where a news anchor was reporting on the fertility clinic investigation. Looks like Zoe's not the only one affected. 12 other families, I confirmed, all using fraudulent funds. The clinic's shutting down. My phone buzzed. Father. Hey, I answered cautiously. We hadn't spoken since the lawyer's office. I'm selling the house, he said without preamble. Your mother? She's moved in with her sister. And Zoe? Still not speaking to anyone. Kelvin's agreed to a quiet divorce. He paused. I found more letters. In your mother's study. My heart thumped. What kind of letters? Love letters. From Xavier. He tried to do right by you, Riley. Your mother just wouldn't let him. The doorbell rang. Through my window, I saw Xavier's car in the driveway. I have to go, I told Father. But thanks for telling me. Riley? His voice caught. I'm still your father, too, if you want. I swallowed hard. I know. Xavier held up a paper bag when I opened the door. Brought dinner. And news. More news? Brinley grabbed her purse. That's my cue to leave. Over Chinese takeout, Xavier showed me the latest legal documents. The company's being restructured, he explained. Your father keeps his pension, but control reverts to the board. And Mother's charities? All resigned, though she's trying to spin it as taking time for family healing. He rolled his eyes. I checked my phone. The Reddit post was gaining traction. Comments poured in. Your family got what they deserved. But your poor sister? Sometimes revenge just makes more victims. Having second thoughts? Xavier noticed my frown. No, just... I pushed my food around. Realizing revenge doesn't feel like I thought it would. How does it feel? Empty, but also free. I looked at him. Does that make sense? He nodded slowly. Freedom usually comes with a price. My phone buzzed again. A text from Zoe. The clinic called. Treatment's officially canceled. Hope you're happy. Are you? Xavier asked. Happy? Before I could answer, another text came through. From Kelvin. You should know. Your mother's writing a book. Her side of the story. I laughed out loud. What's funny? Xavier asked. Mother's writing a book, probably called How My Ungrateful Daughter Ruined Our Perfect Family or something. Let her write it. He pulled out one final envelope. This might help with your side of the story. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Me as a baby, toddler, child, all taken from a distance. Xavier watching me grow up from afar. You were there, I whispered, all along. As close as she'd let me get. His voice was rough. I should have fought harder. My phone lit up. The Reddit post had gone viral. Notifications poured in. Look at this one. I showed him a comment. Sometimes the truth is the best revenge. Is it? I thought about Mother's carefully curated life, now shattered. Zoe's perfect marriage and miracle baby dreams exposed as lies. Father's quiet dignity in the aftermath. The truth set us all free, I said finally, even if freedom hurts. Speaking of truth, Xavier hesitated, there's a specialist I'd like you to see about the gene mutation. Already made an appointment, I smiled. Aunt Grace taught me well. Knowledge is power. My phone buzzed one last time. A notification from Instagram. Zoe had posted a new photo, her and Mother, heads together, looking sad but determined. The caption read, starting over. Truth, Yao healing, being family, I showed Xavier. Think they've learned anything? Have you? I looked at my Reddit post, still gathering comments. Deleted it. Some stories don't need public validation. Some revenge doesn't need an audience. I learned that I don't need their version of family, I said, or their approval. And the cost? Xavier asked softly. Was it worth it? I looked at the photos he'd brought, all those years of watching, waiting, loving from a distance. At Father's text about still being my father, too. At Brinley's unwavering support. The cost showed me who really mattered, I said. So yeah, it was worth it. Xavier smiled. Ready for what comes next? I closed my laptop, silencing the notifications, the drama, the past. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying others. Sometimes it's about saving yourself.
I should have known something was wrong when Bryce started leaving parenting books on my nightstand. My name is Morgan, and 6 months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 28, crushing it as a marketing executive at a tech startup, and married to a man who used to brag about my promotions at dinner parties. We had plans: travel to Europe, buy a house with a home office for me, maybe start a family in a few years when my career hit the next level. Then I saw those 2 pink lines. Bryce, I called from our bathroom, hands shaking as I held the pregnancy test. Bryce, get in here. He appeared in the doorway, hair still messy from sleep, and his face lit up when he saw what I was holding. For a moment, just a moment, it felt like we were still the same team we'd always been. Holy shit, he whispered, pulling me into his arms. We're having a baby. I laughed, tears streaming down my face. We're having a baby. That was 3 weeks ago. The last time I remember feeling purely happy. The first red flag came disguised as concern. I was reviewing quarterly reports at our kitchen table when Bryce set down a cup of decaf coffee I hadn't asked for. You know, babe, maybe you should take it easy, he said, settling into the chair across from me. All this stress can't be good for the baby. I looked up from my laptop. I'm fine. Dr. Martinez said I can keep working normally. I know, but... He gestured vaguely at my computer. This job demands so much from you. 60-hour weeks, constant travel. Maybe it's time to think about what's really important. Something cold settled in my stomach. What's really important? Our family? Our future. He reached across the table to squeeze my hand. I make enough to support us. You could focus on being a mom. I pulled my hand back slowly. I like my job, Bryce. I'm good at it. I know you are. But priorities change, right? That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Bryce slept peacefully beside me. When had he started talking like his mother? The ambush came 2 days later at Sunday dinner. Rosalind had insisted on cooking. She always insisted on everything, and the dining room table was set with her good china. Victor sat quietly at the head of the table, nodding along to whatever his wife said like he'd been doing for 30 years. "Morgan, dear," Rosalind said, passing me a plate of roast beef I couldn't stomach. "Bryce told me your wonderful news." "Thank you," I managed a smile. "We're excited." "Of course you are. A baby is such a blessing." She dabbed her lips with her napkin. "I've been thinking about how we can help you transition." "Transition?" Bryce cleared his throat. Mom put together some information for us to look at. Rosalind stood and retrieved a folder from the sideboard. She placed it in front of me with the satisfaction of someone presenting a gift. "I've done some calculations. With Bryce's salary and the money you'd save on childcare, work clothes, commuting, you'd actually come out ahead if you stayed home." I opened the folder. Spreadsheets, budgets, a timeline showing my optimal departure date from work. At the bottom, a printout of local mommy groups and baby classes. "This is very thorough," I said carefully. "I believe in being prepared." Rosalind's smile was sharp. A child needs their mother, especially in those crucial early years. Daycare is no substitute for a mother's love. Victor shifted uncomfortably. Bryce watched me expectantly. "I appreciate the thought," I said, closing the folder, "but I'm not ready to make that decision yet." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Not ready?" Rosalind's voice was still pleasant, but her eyes had gone flat. "Morgan, surely you understand that motherhood requires sacrifice." "I understand that." I kept my voice steady. "But I also understand that I have a career I've worked hard to build." "A career?" She said it like it was a dirty word. "And what happens to that career when you're up all night with a crying baby? When you're too exhausted to think straight? When your priorities shift to what actually matters?" Bryce reached for my hand under the table. "Mom's just trying to help, babe." "Help?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. When had he started parroting her words? When had he stopped being the man who used to tell people his wife was going to run her own company someday? "I think we should head home," I said, standing. "I'm tired." The drive home was silent, except for the radio. When we pulled into our driveway, Bryce finally spoke. "You could have been more gracious. She spent hours on that presentation." "I didn't ask for a presentation about my life. She's trying to help our family." "Our family?" I turned to face him. "When did you decide I wasn't part of the decision-making process for our family?" He sighed. "That's not what I meant." But I was already walking toward the house, my phone buzzing with a bank notification. I glanced at it absently, then stopped dead in my tracks. Our joint savings account balance, $847. Yesterday, it had been $23,000. That night, while Bryce showered, I quietly opened a new savings account. Just in case. I should have done it sooner. The phone call started the next morning. "Morgan, dear, I found the most wonderful book on natural childbirth." Rosalind's voice chirped through my office speaker. "I thought I'd drop it by this evening." I glanced at my calendar. Back-to-back meetings until 7. "Actually, tonight's not great." "Oh, I won't stay long. Just a quick visit to check on you and the baby." She hung up before I could respond. Trinity knocked on my office door an hour later, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like hell." "Thanks. That's exactly what every pregnant woman wants to hear." She settled into the chair across from my desk. "Spill. What's going on?" I told her about the dinner, the folder, the mysterious disappearing money. Trinity's expression grew darker with each detail. "Financial manipulation," she said when I finished. "Classic control tactic. It's probably just a mistake. Maybe Bryce moved it to a different account." "Did you ask him?" "Not yet." Trinity leaned forward. "Morgan, you're my best friend, but you're also brilliant. Stop making excuses for behavior you'd never tolerate from anyone else." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. "Bryce, Mom's coming over tonight. Please be nice." "Speak of the devil," I muttered, showing Trinity the text. "Want me to come over? Moral support?" No, I can handle Rosalind. Famous last words. Rosalind arrived at 7:30 with a casserole, 3 books, and a suitcase. Just a few things, she said, wheeling it through our front door like she owned the place. I thought I'd stay for a few days to help out. Bryce appeared from the kitchen, kissing his mother's cheek. Mom, you didn't have to bring dinner. Nonsense. Morgan needs proper nutrition now. She turned to me with that razor-sharp smile. You look tired, dear. Are you getting enough rest? I'm fine. She studied my face like a doctor examining symptoms. You know, when I was pregnant with Bryce, I made sure to prioritize my health above everything else. Work stress can be so damaging to a developing baby. I felt Bryce's eyes on me. My doctor says I'm perfectly healthy. Of course, dear. But doctors don't always consider the full picture. She unpacked the books on our coffee table. These will help you understand what your body really needs. I picked up the top book, The Fulfilled Mother, Finding Joy in Traditional Roles, published in 1987. Rosalind, I appreciate the thought, but please, call me Mom. We're family now. The word mom stuck in my throat like a bone. I have my own mother. Of course you do. Her smile never wavered. Though, I understand you two aren't close. The room went silent. Bryce shifted uncomfortably. How do you know that? I asked. Bryce mentioned it. Such a shame when families drift apart. She settled onto our couch like she was planning to stay forever. That's why I think it's so important for us to bond. For the baby's sake. Over the next 3 days, Rosalind made herself at home. She reorganized our kitchen, replaced my prenatal vitamins with better ones, and left passive-aggressive notes about everything from my work schedule to my choice of breakfast cereal. The breaking point came Sunday morning. I found her in our bedroom, going through my dresser drawers. What are you doing? Just tidying up, dear. You've been so busy with work. I thought I'd help. She held up one of my blazers. You won't be needing these much longer. Those are my work clothes. Exactly. She folded the blazer with deliberate care. I was thinking we could donate them. Make room for more practical things. Get out. Excuse me? Get out of my bedroom. Get out of my house. Rosalind's mask slipped for just a second, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. Then the smile returned. Morgan, I think the pregnancy hormones are making you emotional. Bryce, I called. He appeared in the doorway, looking between us nervously. What's wrong? Your mother is going through my personal belongings. Mom was just helping. I don't want her help. I want her gone. Rosalind placed a hand on her chest. I'm only trying to support you during this difficult time. Difficult time? My voice rose. I'm pregnant. Not dying. Morgan, Bryce said quietly. Maybe you should calm down. I stared at him. Calm down. You're getting worked up over nothing. Nothing? I gestured at his mother, who was still holding my blazer like evidence in a trial. She's treating me like an invalid in my own home. She's trying to help our family. Our family. I repeated the words slowly. When did our family start including your mother making decisions about my clothes? Bryce's jaw tightened. She's not making decisions. She's offering support. Support I didn't ask for. Maybe that's the problem, Rosalind interjected smoothly. You're so used to doing everything yourself, you've forgotten how to accept help. I don't need help organizing my life. Don't you? She set down the blazer and faced me fully. You're working 60 hours a week while pregnant. You barely eat proper meals. You're stressed constantly. Is that really what's best for the baby? My job is not the problem here. Isn't it? Bryce stepped closer. When's the last time we had dinner together? When's the last time you weren't on your laptop until midnight? I felt like I was drowning. I'm building something. For us. For our future. What future? Rosalind's voice was gentle, but her words cut deep. A future where your child barely knows you? where you're too exhausted to be present for the moments that matter. That's enough. I turned to Bryce. I need to talk to you. Alone. Rosalind gathered her things with wounded dignity. I'll be in the guest room when you're ready to apologize. When she left, Bryce sat heavily on our bed. She's just worried about you. She's worried about controlling me. That's not fair, isn't it? I sat beside him. Bryce, do you want me to quit my job? He was quiet for a long moment. I want what's best for our family. That's not an answer. Maybe it is. He looked at me with eyes that seemed like a stranger's. Maybe it's time to decide what's really important. The next morning, I found him at the kitchen table with coffee and a serious expression. I've been thinking, he said without preamble, about us, about the baby, about what kind of life we want to build. I poured myself orange juice and waited. I think Mom's right. This job is consuming you, and it's only going to get worse when the baby comes. He leaned forward. I'm asking you to quit. Asking. I'm telling you. Quit your job, or we're going to have serious problems. I set down my glass carefully. What kind of problems? The kind that tear families apart. I stared at him for a long moment, seeing clearly for the first time in months. This wasn't my husband anymore. This was Rosalind's puppet, delivering her ultimatum in his voice. I see, I said quietly. Good. I'm glad you understand. I smiled and kissed his cheek. I understand perfectly. That night, I checked our joint account again. Balance, $127. I transferred my entire paycheck to my private account and called Trinity. I need a lawyer, I said when she answered. A good one. What happened? They think they've clipped my wings. I stared out our bedroom window at the life I'd built, the life they were trying to take away. They have no idea I've been planning to fly. I confronted Bryce the next morning while he was getting ready for work. Where's our money? He paused, razor halfway to his face. What money? The $23,000 that was in our joint savings. It's gone. Oh, that. He rinsed his razor like we were discussing the weather. Mom and I moved it to a better account. Higher interest rate. Without telling me. I'm telling you now. I leaned against the bathroom doorframe. Which account? A trust fund. For the baby's future. Show me the paperwork. His hand stilled. What? The trust fund. Paperwork. I want to see it. Morgan, you don't trust me? Show me the paperwork, Bryce. He set down his razor and turned to face me. We did what was best for our family. That money is safe. Safe from what? From me? From impulse decisions? From stress spending? He stepped closer. You've been acting erratic lately. Mom and I thought... Mom and I. I repeated the words slowly. When did your mother become part of our financial decisions? She's family. I'm your wife. And you're carrying our child. Our responsibility is to that baby now, not to your career ambitions. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. My career ambitions. Come on, Morgan. You know what I mean. No, I don't. Explain it to me. Bryce sighed like I was being deliberately difficult. Look, I get it. You worked hard to build something. But priorities change. We need to think about what's practical now. Practical. A stable home. A present mother. Traditional values. He reached for my hands. The kind of family we both want. I pulled away. When did you decide what kind of family I want? When you married me. When you got pregnant. His voice hardened. When you became part of this family. This family. I felt something cold and final settle in my chest. You mean your mother's family? She's trying to help us. She's trying to control us. Maybe we need some control right now. He grabbed his tie from the closet. Maybe we need someone with experience to guide us through this transition. Transition. From being a couple to being parents. From being selfish to being responsible. Selfish. He stopped tying his tie. You're just repeating everything I say. I'm trying to understand when my husband started talking like a stranger. I'm not a stranger. I'm your family. No, I stepped back. You're Rosalind's son. There's a difference. His face flushed. Don't talk about my mother like that. Like what? Like she's manipulative? Like she's controlling? Like she just stole $23,000 from her son's wife? She didn't steal anything. She protected our assets. Our assets. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Assets she has no legal right to touch. She's protecting our baby's future. She's protecting her own interests. Bryce finished his tie with sharp, angry movements. I'm done with this conversation. So am I. He paused at the bedroom door. Morgan, I need you to understand something. This isn't negotiable. You're going to quit your job. You're going to focus on being a mother, and you're going to stop fighting us on every decision. Us. My mother and me. Your family. And if I don't? His smile was cold. Then you'll find out what it's like to raise a child alone. After he left, I sat on our bed for exactly 5 minutes. Then I called in sick to work and drove to Trinity's office. Jesus, Morgan. She looked up from her computer when I walked in. You look like you've seen a ghost. I think I have. I collapsed into her client chair. The ghost of my marriage. I told her everything. The money, the ultimatum, Bryce's transformation into his mother's mouthpiece. Trinity took notes, her expression growing grimmer with each detail. This is financial abuse, she said when I finished. Textbook case. It gets worse. I pulled out my phone and showed her a text from Rosalind. Looking forward to our lunch tomorrow. We have so much to discuss about your future. I never agreed to lunch with her. Don't go. I have to. I need to know what she's planning. Trinity leaned back in her chair. Morgan, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. How long have you been planning for this? Planning for what? Don't play dumb. You opened that separate account for a reason. You've been documenting everything. You called me for a lawyer recommendation before you even confronted Bryce about the money. She studied my face. How long have you known this was coming? I was quiet for a moment. Since the dinner. Maybe before. How much before? Since the wedding, if I'm being honest. The way Rosalind looked at me during the ceremony. Like I was temporary. And you've been preparing. I've been protecting myself. Trinity smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Good, because we're going to need every advantage we can get. We? You think I'm letting you handle this alone? She pulled out a legal pad. Tell me about your finances. All of them. Every account. Every asset. Every debt. For the next hour, I laid out my entire financial life. The private savings account I'd been building for 2 years. The stock options from my company. The small inheritance from my grandmother that I'd never told Bryce about. You've been planning this for a while, Trinity said when I finished. I've been planning for independence. There's a difference. Is there? I thought about Bryce's ultimatum, about Rosalind's smug smile, about the way they'd emptied our account like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with money. No, I said finally. There isn't. Trinity's smile was sharp. Then let's give them exactly what they're asking for. What do you mean? They want you to quit your job and focus on being a mother? She started writing. Fine. You'll be a single mother with full custody, child support, and a thriving career. Can we do that? Honey, with what you've just told me, we can do whatever we want. She looked up from her notes. The question is, how far are you willing to go? I thought about Bryce's cold smile, about Rosalind's hands on my clothes, about the way they'd made me feel small and powerless in my own home. As far as it takes. Good. Trinity stood up. Because tomorrow, you're going to that lunch with Rosalind. And you're going to let her think she's won. Why? Because people reveal their true intentions when they think they have all the power. She handed me a small recording device. And we're going to need evidence of exactly who we're dealing with. I stared at the device. This feels like crossing a line. They crossed the line when they stole your money. Trinity's voice was steel. Now we're just evening the playing field. That night I lay in bed next to Bryce, listening to him breathe. He slept peacefully, like a man with a clear conscience. I stared at the ceiling and planned my escape. The lunch with Rosalind was at her country club, naturally. She'd chosen a corner table where she could see everyone who walked in, like a queen holding court. "Morgan, darling, you look radiant," she said, air-kissing my cheek. "Pregnancy suits you." I smiled and activated the recording device in my purse. "Thank you for inviting me." "Of course, we have so much to celebrate." She signaled the waiter. I took the liberty of ordering for both of us. "The salmon is excellent here, and you need the omega-3s. That's thoughtful." "I'm always thinking about what's best for the family." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "Speaking of which, I have wonderful news. I've found the perfect house. House, for you and Bryce, and the baby, of course." She pulled out her phone, swiping through photos. 4 bedrooms, beautiful nursery space, and the best part, it's right next door to Victor and me. The photos showed a pristine suburban home with a white picket fence. It looked like a prison. "It's lovely," I managed. "I knew you'd love it. The seller is a friend of mine, so we can get a very good price. I've already put down a deposit." "You put down a deposit on a house for us?" "For the family. For the baby's future." Her smile was radiant. "Don't worry about the finances. I've restructured some investments to make it work." "Restructured investments?" "The money from your joint account was just sitting there earning nothing. I've put it to much better use." She sipped her wine. "A trust fund for the baby, a down payment on the house, and a nice little nest egg for emergencies. All without consulting me. Darling, you've been so stressed with work. I didn't want to burden you with financial details." She reached across the table to pat my hand. "That's what family is for." The waiter brought our salads. Rosalind had ordered me a small garden salad with dressing on the side. "I'm actually quite hungry," I said. "Could I see a menu?" "Nonsense. You need to watch your weight during pregnancy. Too much weight gain can complicate delivery." I smiled and took a bite of lettuce. "You seem to have thought of everything." "I have. Which brings me to the real reason for our lunch." She dabbed her lips with her napkin. "I want to discuss your transition timeline." "Transition timeline?" "From working woman to mother. I've created a schedule that will make everything seamless." She pulled out a folder. "Another damn folder. Your last day of work should be next Friday. That gives you time to train your replacement and tie up loose ends." I opened the folder. Inside was a detailed calendar showing my optimal departure date, followed by a schedule of prenatal appointments, baby classes, and house hunting trips. All planned without my input. This is very thorough. I believe in being prepared. After you quit, we'll have 6 months to get you properly settled. Decorating the nursery, taking parenting classes, learning to cook proper family meals. Learning to cook? Well, you'll need to know how to prepare nutritious meals for a growing family. I've enrolled you in a cooking class at the community center, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I flipped through more pages. Shopping lists for maternity clothes, all conservative, all beige. A list of appropriate books for expectant mothers. A schedule of weekly visits with Rosalind to monitor progress. You've planned my entire life. I've planned your new life. Your better life. She leaned back with satisfaction. No more 60-hour weeks. No more stress. No more putting career before family. And what if I don't want this new life? Her smile faltered for just a moment. What do you mean? What if I want to keep working? What if I don't want to live next door to you? What if I want to make my own decisions about my pregnancy? Morgan. Her voice was patient, like she was talking to a child. I understand this is overwhelming. Change is always difficult, but sometimes we need guidance from people who know better. People who know better? People with experience. People who understand what it means to be a proper wife and mother. She leaned forward. Your own mother clearly didn't teach you these things. The mention of my mother hit like a slap. Excuse me? I'm not judging, darling. But look at the result. You're 28 years old, more focused on spreadsheets than on starting a family. You don't know how to cook. You've never shown interest in domestic skills, and you seem to think a career is more important than your child's well-being. My career supports my child's well-being. Money isn't everything, Morgan. A child needs a present mother, not a paycheck. And what about what I need? Rosalind's mask slipped completely. What you need is to grow up and accept responsibility. You're not a single woman anymore. You're a wife and soon-to-be mother. It's time to act like it. Act like what? Like a woman who puts her family first. Like a woman who understands her role. She straightened in her chair. Like a woman who knows her place. I closed the folder carefully. My place. Yes, your place. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. And if you can't figure out what that is, I'll be happy to show you. Show me how. By doing what's necessary to protect this family. By making the hard decisions when you're too selfish to make them yourself. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. By ensuring my grandchild has the stable, traditional home they deserve. Even if that means going behind my back. Even if that means saving you from yourself. I stood up slowly. Thank you for lunch, Rosalind, and for being so honest about your intentions. Where are you going? We haven't finished discussing the house. I think we've discussed enough. I shouldered my purse, the recording device still running. I need to get back to work. Morgan, sit down. We're not finished. Yes, we are. Her voice followed me as I walked away. You can't run from responsibility forever, Morgan. Sooner or later, you'll have to choose what's more important, your pride or your family. I drove straight to Trinity's office, my hands shaking as I handed her the recording device. How bad is it? She asked. Listen for yourself. 20 minutes later, Trinity looked up with a grim smile. This is perfect. Perfect? She just confessed to financial fraud, manipulation, and conspiracy to control your life. On tape. She ejected the device. Morgan, this woman just handed us everything we need to destroy her. What's the next step? You go home, you pack your bags, and tomorrow morning, you serve them both with divorce papers. Just like that? Just like that. Trinity's smile was sharp. They wanted to clip your wings? Let's show them what happens when you learn to fly. That evening, I sat in my car outside our house, watching Bryce through the kitchen window. He was laughing at something on his phone, probably texting his mother about their successful day. I thought about the house next door to Rosalind, the cooking classes, the garden salads, and supervised shopping trips, the life they'd planned for me without asking what I wanted. Then I thought about my daughter, because somehow I knew it was a daughter, and what kind of woman I wanted her to become. I started the engine and drove to the apartment complex I'd visited that morning. The lease was already signed. The keys were in my purse. Tomorrow, Bryce would come home to an empty house and an envelope on the kitchen table. Tonight, I was finally free. Bryce called me 17 times before I finally answered. What the hell is this, Morgan? His voice was shaking. Divorce papers? Are you insane? I was sitting in my new apartment, boxes stacked around me like a fortress. I'm perfectly sane. You can't just leave. We're having a baby. I'm having a baby. You're having a custody arrangement. Morgan, come home. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. I'm done. Done? His voice cracked. Done with what? Our marriage? Our family? Done being controlled. Done being manipulated. Done being treated like a child who can't make her own decisions. Nobody's treating you like a child. Your mother put a deposit on a house without telling me. She planned my entire life without asking what I wanted. She stole our money and called it restructuring investments. She was helping. She was controlling. And you let her. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, where are you? Somewhere safe. Morgan, please. Just come home and we'll talk. I am home. I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, my boss Emma knocked on my office door with coffee and a concerned expression. Trinity called me, she said, settling into the chair across from my desk. She said you might need some flexibility with your schedule. I'm sorry. I know this is unprofessional. Stop. Emma held up her hand. You're one of my best employees, and you're going through hell. What do you need? I told her about the divorce, the custody battle, the financial manipulation. Emma listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. Bastards, she said when I finished. Both of them. I can handle the workload. I won't let this affect my performance. Morgan, you're 6 months pregnant and fighting for your life. Your performance is the least of my concerns. She leaned forward. What if I told you there was another option? What kind of option? I've been thinking about expanding our consulting division. Remote work, flexible hours, higher pay. She smiled. Interested in being my first hire? You're offering me a promotion? I'm offering you freedom and a 20% raise. I stared at her. Why? Because you're brilliant. Because you deserve better than what those people put you through. And because I believe in supporting women who refuse to be broken. That afternoon, Rosalind started her campaign. My phone buzzed with a text from my brother Riley. Mom called. Said you're having a breakdown and left Bryce. True? Then Trinity. Your mother-in-law is calling everyone. Damage control mode. Then my coworker Sarah. Hey, just wanted to check on you. Heard you're going through a rough patch. I called Trinity immediately. How many people has she contacted? From what I can tell, everyone. Your family, your friends, your coworkers. She's painting you as unstable and hormonal. What's she saying exactly? That pregnancy has made you irrational. That you're making impulsive decisions. That you abandoned your loving husband and his concerned mother. Trinity's voice was grim. She's good at this. What do? We fight back, with facts. The next morning, Trinity and I walked into the police station with a folder full of evidence. Bank records showing the unauthorized transfers. The recording of Rosalind's confession. Documentation of her harassment campaign. Financial fraud, the detective said, after reviewing everything. Clear case. We'll need to investigate the trust fund she mentioned. What about the harassment? I asked. Harder to prove, but we'll document it. Keep records of every contact. That afternoon, Bryce showed up at my office. Security called, Emma said, appearing at my desk. Your husband is in the lobby. Want me to have him removed? No, I'll handle it. Bryce looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. He stood when he saw me, hope flickering across his face. Morgan, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I know, I've been ignoring you. Please, just listen. Mom explained everything. She was trying to help, but she went too far. She knows that now. She knows that now? She's sorry. We both are. Just come home and we'll figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. There's everything to figure out. Our marriage, our baby, our future. He stepped closer. I love you. No, you don't. Of course I do. You love the idea of me, the version of me that fits into your mother's plan. I crossed my arms. You don't love the real me. That's not true. When's the last time you asked what I wanted? When's the last time you supported my career? When's the last time you chose me over your mother? He was quiet. That's what I thought. Morgan, I can change. We can change. I don't want you to change, Bryce. I want you to be honest about who you are. I looked at him. Really looked at him. You're your mother's son. You always have been. You always will be. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about the $23,000 your mother stole from our account. His face went pale. She didn't steal it. She invested it. Where? Show me the paperwork. I don't have it with me. You don't have it at all, do you? Morgan, she took our money and you let her. She planned my life and you helped her. She tried to control me and you stood by and watched. I stepped back. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. I was trying to protect our family. You were trying to control your wife. I was trying to be a good husband. A good husband supports his wife's dreams. A good husband protects her from people who want to hurt her. A good husband chooses her over everyone else, including his mother. Bryce's shoulders sagged. What do you want from me? Nothing. That's the point. I turned to walk away. I don't want anything from you anymore. Morgan, wait. I stopped but didn't turn around. The baby, he said quietly. What about the baby? The baby will have a mother who fights for what she believes in, who stands up to bullies, who never lets anyone make her feel small. I looked back at him. The baby will have everything I never got from you. That evening, I sat in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes and possibilities. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I smiled and blocked the number. Then I called Trinity. How long until the fraud charges go through? 2 weeks, maybe 3. Good. I want them to think they're winning. Why? Because people make mistakes when they think they have all the power. I looked out my window at the city lights, at the life I was building for myself and my daughter. And I want to be there when they fall. The family court hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in November. I arrived early, wearing my best navy suit and the confidence that comes from having truth on your side. Trinity squeezed my shoulder as we walked into the courtroom. Remember, stay calm no matter what they say. I'm ready. Bryce sat at the defendant's table with his lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. Rosalind was in the gallery behind them, dressed like she was attending a funeral. She caught my eye and smiled. The same cold smile she'd worn at that country club lunch. All rise for the Honorable Judge Martinez. Judge Martinez was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the case file before looking up. This is a custody hearing regarding the unborn child of Morgan and Bryce. I've reviewed the preliminary documents, and I have to say, this is one of the more unusual cases I've seen. She looked directly at Bryce. Mr. Bryce, you and your mother are accused of financial fraud, manipulation, and conspiracy to control the plaintiff's life choices. How do you plead? Bryce's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. This is simply a case of family members trying to help during a difficult pregnancy. Help. Judge Martinez's tone was dry. By emptying joint bank accounts without consent? The money was moved to secure investments for the child's future, Your Honor. Without the mother's knowledge or consent? My client believed he was acting in the best interests of his family. Judge Martinez turned to Trinity. Counselor, present your evidence. Trinity stood and activated the courtroom's audio system. Your Honor, I'd like to play a recording of a conversation between my client and the defendant's mother, Rosalind. Rosalind's voice filled the courtroom. Money isn't everything, Morgan. A child needs a present mother, not a paycheck. Then my voice. And what about what I need? What you need is to grow up and accept responsibility. You're not a single woman anymore. You're a wife and soon-to-be mother. It's time to act like it. The judge's eyebrows rose as the recording continued. When it reached the part about knowing your place, Rosalind shifted uncomfortably in her seat. By doing what's necessary to protect this family, by making the hard decisions when you're too selfish to make them yourself, Judge Martinez held up her hand. That's enough. She looked at Bryce's lawyer. Your client's mother just confessed to financial manipulation and conspiracy. On tape. Your Honor, that conversation was taken out of context. What context makes stealing $23,000 acceptable? Bryce's lawyer fumbled through his papers. The money was invested in a trust fund for the child. Show me the trust fund documentation. Silence. I'm waiting, Counselor. Your Honor, the paperwork is still being processed. There is no trust fund, is there? Judge Martinez's voice was sharp. The money was simply moved to accounts controlled by the defendant and his mother. Trinity stood again. Your Honor, we have bank records showing the money was transferred to 3 separate accounts, all controlled by Rosalind. No trust fund was ever established. Judge Martinez reviewed the documents Trinity handed her. This is theft, plain and simple. Bryce's lawyer tried again. Your Honor, my client was acting on his mother's advice. His mother has no legal standing in this marriage. She has no right to marital assets. The judge looked directly at Bryce. Mr. Bryce, do you have anything to say for yourself? Bryce stood slowly. Your Honor, I was trying to protect my family. By stealing from your wife? By securing our future. By making sure our child would be provided for. Your wife has a successful career. She was providing for your child. She was working too much. The stress wasn't good for the baby. That's not your decision to make unilaterally. And it's certainly not your mother's decision to make. Rosalind suddenly stood up in the gallery. Your Honor, if I may? You may not. Sit down. But I have important information about Morgan's mental state. Ma'am, sit down, or I'll have you removed from my courtroom. Rosalind sat, but her face was flushed with anger. Judge Martinez turned back to Bryce. Mr. Bryce, you've admitted to moving marital assets without your wife's consent. You've allowed your mother to interfere in your marriage to the point of financial fraud. You've issued ultimatums about your wife's career without considering her wishes. She paused. What exactly makes you think you should have custody of this child? I'm the father. Being a father requires more than biology. It requires respect, support, and putting your child's best interests first. She looked at him over her glasses. Have you done any of those things? Bryce was quiet. I didn't think so. Trinity presented more evidence. The house deposit Rosalind had made without permission, the cooking classes she'd enrolled me in, the detailed life plan she'd created for me. Each piece of evidence made Bryce sink lower in his chair. Then Victor walked into the courtroom. Your Honor, he said quietly, I'd like to testify on behalf of Morgan. Rosalind's face went white. Victor, what are you doing? What I should have done years ago. He looked at his wife with something like pity. Standing up to you. Victor took the stand and was sworn in. His testimony was devastating. My wife has controlled every aspect of our son's life since he was born, he said. She chose his friends, his activities, his college, even his career. When he married Morgan, she saw it as a threat to her control. Can you elaborate? Trinity asked. She's been planning to get rid of Morgan since the wedding. She told me Morgan was too independent and would corrupt our son with modern ideas. What did she mean by get rid of? She said she'd find a way to make Morgan quit her job and become dependent on the family. Then she could control her like she controls everyone else. Rosalind stood up again. That's not true. Victor, how can you— Bailiff, remove that woman from my courtroom, Judge Martinez ordered. As Rosalind was escorted out, she turned back to glare at me. This isn't over, Morgan. You'll never keep me from my grandchild. Judge Martinez waited until the courtroom was quiet again. Mr. Victor, in your opinion, is your son capable of making independent decisions about his child's welfare? Victor looked at Bryce with sadness. No, Your Honor. He's never made an independent decision in his life. After Victor's testimony, the hearing was essentially over. Judge Martinez deliberated for exactly 10 minutes. In the matter of custody, I award sole physical and legal custody to Morgan, she announced. Mr. Bryce will have supervised visitation rights, pending completion of family counseling and financial restitution. Bryce's face crumpled. Your Honor, please. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order against Rosalind. She is not to contact Morgan or come within 500 feet of her or the child. Your Honor, Bryce's lawyer tried one last time. My client would like to appeal. Your client should focus on making restitution for the stolen funds and getting his life together. Judge Martinez stood. This court is adjourned. As we walked out of the courthouse, Trinity was practically glowing. That was beautiful. Did you see Rosalind's face when Victor testified? I saw it. I felt oddly calm. It's not over, though. What do you mean? She said it herself. This isn't over. I looked back at the courthouse. She's not the type to accept defeat gracefully. Let her try something. We have a restraining order now. A piece of paper won't stop someone like Rosalind. I put my hand on my growing belly. But I'm ready for whatever comes next. Trinity smiled. Good. Because something tells me the real fight is just beginning. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, delivered by a process server who looked apologetic as he handed it to me. Grandparent visitation rights petition, Trinity said after I called her in a panic. She's claiming she has a legal right to see the baby. Can she do that? She can try. But after what happened in court, it's a long shot. Trinity's voice was grim. Still, we need to take this seriously. She's not going down without a fight. I was 8 months pregnant now, moving slowly but still working from my home office. The consulting business with Emma was thriving, and I'd saved enough to hire a nanny for when the baby came. Everything was falling into place, except for Rosalind's continued attempts to destroy my life. What's our next move? I asked. We fight back. Hard. Trinity paused. Morgan, I need to ask you something. How far are you willing to go to protect your daughter? As far as necessary. Good. Because I have an idea, but it's going to require you to trust me completely. The next morning, Trinity arrived at my apartment with a man I didn't recognize. He was in his 40s, wearing a rumpled suit and carrying a briefcase that had seen better days. Morgan, meet Detective Ray. He specializes in financial crimes. Detective Ray shook my hand. Ms. Morgan, I've been investigating your case for the past month. What I've found is interesting. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Your mother-in-law has been very busy. The $23,000 she took from your account? That was just the beginning. What do you mean? She's been skimming from family trust funds for years. Her husband's retirement account, her sister's inheritance, even money meant for her other grandchildren's college funds. He spread documents across my coffee table. We're talking about over $200,000. I stared at the papers. She stole from her own family? Repeatedly. And she's been using shell companies to hide the money offshore. Detective Ray pointed to a bank statement. This account in the Cayman Islands? It's all hers. Trinity leaned forward. The best part? She used your joint account theft to fund the initial transfer. We can trace it all back to that first $23,000. So what happens now? Now we have leverage, Detective Ray said. She drops the grandparent petition, or we expose everything. Her family, her friends, the IRS. Everyone gets to know what Rosalind really is. And if she doesn't back down, then we destroy her. Trinity's smile was sharp. Completely. That afternoon, I got a call from Victor. Morgan, I need to see you. It's about Rosalind. Victor, I can't. The restraining order. She doesn't know I'm calling. Please, it's important. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Victor looked like he'd aged 10 years since the court hearing. She's lost her mind, he said without preamble. Completely lost it. What do you mean? She's convinced herself that if she can prove you're an unfit mother, she can get custody of the baby. He rubbed his face. She's been following you, Morgan. Taking pictures, documenting your every move. My blood ran cold. Following me? She hired a private investigator. She has photos of you going to work, grocery shopping, meeting with Trinity. She's building a case that you're too busy to be a proper mother. That's insane. That's Rosalind. Victor leaned across the table. But there's more. She's been calling your doctor's office, pretending to be your mother, trying to get information about your pregnancy. She can't do that. That's illegal. She doesn't care about legal anymore. She only cares about winning. Victor's voice was desperate. Morgan, you need to be careful. She's not stable. What are you saying? I'm saying my wife is capable of anything right now, and she sees your baby as her property. That evening, I called Trinity and told her everything Victor had said. We need to move faster, she said. I'm calling Detective Ray. We're going to end this tomorrow. How? By giving Rosalind exactly what she deserves. The next morning, Detective Ray and 2 other officers knocked on Rosalind's door. I wasn't there, but Victor called me afterward to describe the scene. She answered the door in her robe, completely confident, he said, right up until Ray showed her the arrest warrant. What did she say? She tried to blame everyone else. Me, Bryce, even you. Said you'd manipulated the evidence somehow. Victor's voice was hollow. She still doesn't understand that her actions have consequences.
What happens now? She's been charged with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and harassment. Her bail hearing is tomorrow. Will she get bail? Probably. But her assets are frozen, and she's not allowed to contact you or anyone in your family. Victor paused. Morgan, I'm sorry. I should have stopped her years ago. You stopped her when it mattered most. Did I? Or did I just finally grow a spine when it was too late?
That afternoon, Bryce showed up at my apartment. He looked terrible. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, like a man who'd lost everything. Can we talk? He asked when I opened the door. We have nothing to talk about. Please, 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He sat on my couch like a stranger, looking around at the life I'd built without him. I heard about Mom, he said finally. Good. Maybe now you'll understand what kind of person she really is. I knew. His voice was barely a whisper. I've always known. I stared at him. What? I knew she was controlling. I knew she was manipulative. I knew she was stealing from the family. He looked up at me with tears in his eyes. I just thought it was normal. Normal? She's been doing it my whole life. Controlling everything, making all the decisions, taking whatever she wanted. He wiped his face. I thought that's what mothers did. That's not what mothers do, Bryce. That's what abusers do. I know that now. He stood up slowly. I know a lot of things now. Too late, but I know them. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For not protecting you. For not standing up to her. For being too weak to be the husband you deserved. Bryce, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for another chance. He moved toward the door. I'm just asking you to let me be a father to our daughter. Not the kind of father I had, but the kind she deserves. That's up to you. I know. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For fighting back. For not letting us break you. After he left, I sat in my nursery, surrounded by tiny clothes and stuffed animals. My daughter would be here soon, and she'd never know the chaos that had surrounded her birth. She'd never know about the grandmother who'd tried to control her before she was even born, or the father who'd been too weak to protect her. but she'd know about the mother who'd fought for her, who'd refused to be broken, who'd chosen freedom over security, truth over peace.
My phone buzzed with a text from Trinity. Rosalind's lawyer called. She's dropping the petition. It's over. I smiled and placed my hand on my belly. Did you hear that, baby girl? We won. For the first time in months, I felt truly free. But freedom, I was about to learn, came with its own price. Blair Elizabeth came into the world on a Tuesday morning in March, screaming like she already knew she had something to fight for.
She's perfect, the nurse said, placing my daughter on my chest. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and a very healthy set of lungs. I looked down at her red, wrinkled face and felt something shift inside me. This was what I'd been fighting for. Not just my freedom, but hers. Trinity was the first visitor, arriving with flowers and a huge grin. She's beautiful, Morgan. She looks just like you. Thank God for that, I said, adjusting Blair's tiny hat. I was worried she'd have Bryce's weak chin. Speaking of Bryce, he's been calling the hospital, wants to know when he can visit. What did you tell him? That it's up to you. I looked down at Blair, who was sleeping peacefully despite the chaos that had brought her into the world. He can come tomorrow, 1 hour, supervised. And Rosalind? What about her? She's been released on bail. House arrest, but still. I felt a chill. She can't come here, right? The restraining order is still in effect. She comes within 500 feet of you or Blair, she goes back to jail. Trinity squeezed my hand. She's done, Morgan. Her trial starts next month, and with all the evidence we have, she's looking at serious prison time. Good. The next day, Bryce arrived with a teddy bear and red eyes. He'd been crying. Can I hold her? He asked, his voice barely a whisper.
I nodded, watching carefully as he took Blair in his arms. For a moment, he looked like the man I'd married. Gentle, loving, present. She's so small, he said, tears streaming down his face. I can't believe she's mine. She's not yours, I said quietly. She's her own person, and my job is to make sure she stays that way. I know. He looked up at me. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand how I let things get so bad. That's good.
I want to be better. For her. For you, if you'll let me. This isn't about me anymore, Bryce. It's about her. I gestured to Blair. She deserves a father who puts her first. Always. I will, I promise. Promises are easy. Keeping them is hard. He nodded, still holding Blair like she might disappear. I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you'll let me try. 1 step at a time, I said. Prove you can be the father she needs. Then we'll talk. Emma visited that afternoon, bringing a care package and news from work. The Peterson account loved your proposal, she said, settling into the visitor's chair. They want to expand the contract. That's great. I shifted Blair to my other arm. I should be able to start working again in a few weeks. Take your time. The business will survive without you for a while. Emma smiled at Blair. Besides, you have more important things to focus on right now. I can do both. I want to do both. I know you do. And you will. Emma's expression grew serious. Morgan, I want you to know how proud I am of you. What you did. Standing up to them, fighting for your independence. It takes real courage. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice. You could have given in. Let them control you. Taken the easy path. She leaned forward. But you chose to fight. You chose freedom. And now your daughter will grow up knowing what a strong woman looks like.
That evening, my brother Riley called from his art studio in Portland. How's my niece? He asked, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Perfect. Loud, but perfect. She gets that from her mom. He paused. I'm proud of you, sis. For everything. Thanks. I mean it. Growing up with Mom, watching her let everyone walk all over her, I was worried you'd end up the same way. Never. I know that now. You're nothing like her. His voice grew soft. Blair's lucky to have you.
I'm lucky to have her. The call I'd been dreading came 3 days after we got home from the hospital. An unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. Morgan. Rosalind's voice was cold, controlled. Congratulations on the baby. You're not supposed to be calling me. I'm not calling to threaten you. I'm calling to make you an offer. I'm hanging up. Wait. Her voice cracked slightly. Please, just listen. Against my better judgment, I stayed on the line. I know I made mistakes, she said. I know I went too far. But that baby is my blood, Morgan. My legacy. She's not your anything. She's my son's daughter, my grandchild. Rosalind's voice grew desperate. I'm willing to make a deal. What kind of deal? I'll plead guilty to the charges. I'll pay back every penny I took. I'll leave you alone completely. She paused. In exchange for one visit, 1 hour with my granddaughter. No. Morgan, please, no. I looked down at Blair, sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. You had your chance to be part of this family. You chose control over love. You chose manipulation over respect. You chose to steal from your own son rather than support his wife. You were protecting your own ego, your need to be in charge, your inability to accept that other people have the right to make their own choices. I stood up, pacing to the window. You want to know what your legacy is, Rosalind? It's a son who doesn't know how to think for himself and a daughter-in-law who had to fight for her freedom. I can change.
No, you can't. And even if you could, it's too late. I looked down at Blair again. She's never going to know you. She's never going to be controlled by you. She's going to grow up free. You can't keep me from her forever. Watch me. I hung up and blocked the number. That night, I sat in the nursery feeding Blair, watching her tiny fingers wrap around mine. She was so small, so perfect, so completely dependent on me to protect her.
I promise you, I whispered, you'll never have to fight the battles I fought. You'll never have to choose between being yourself and being accepted. You'll never have to prove your worth to people who should love you unconditionally. Blair looked up at me with serious dark eyes, as if she understood every word. You're going to be strong, I continued. Not because you have to be, but because you choose to be. And when someone tries to make you small, you'll remember that your mother never let anyone break her. My phone buzzed with a text from Trinity. Rosalind's trial moved up. Next week, it's really over. I smiled and kissed Blair's forehead. Did you hear that, baby girl? It's really over. But as I sat there in the quiet nursery, I realized it wasn't really over. It was just beginning. The real work, raising a daughter who would never accept less than she deserved, who would never let anyone control her, who would know her own worth. That work started now. And for the first time since I'd seen those 2 pink lines, I wasn't afraid. I was ready.
The worst part about revenge isn't planning it. It's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I learned that on Christmas Eve, watching my father Edgar drain his 4th whiskey while explaining to our dinner guests exactly why my little website hobby would never amount to anything. My name is Sloane, and I'm about to burn my family's world to the ground. Really? She just plays around on the computer all day, he chuckled, gesturing with his glass. Thank God we have Wyatt here, carrying on the real family legacy in medical school. My brother preened, adjusting his designer watch, the one I knew cost more than most people's monthly salary. Someone has to make the family proud, right, sis? I smiled tightly and took another sip of wine. The crystal stemware probably cost more than what they thought I made in a month. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything in this house, from the imported marble countertops to the pretentious artwork, was paid for by my little hobby. Sloane dear, help me with dessert. My mother Vivian's voice carried that familiar edge of forced cheerfulness. In the kitchen, she busied herself with plating the tiramisu while shooting me concerned glances. You know your father doesn't mean anything by it. He just wants what's best for you. Like emptying my trust fund without telling me? The words slipped out before I could stop them. I'd discovered the transfer records just hours ago, buried in papers Cecilia, our family lawyer, had accidentally copied me on. My mother froze, colour draining from her face. Who told you about that? Does it matter? Were you ever going to? Sweetheart, we needed it for Wyatt's tuition and some investments your father made. She wrung her hands, pearl bracelet catching the light. It's for the family's future. My future was in that trust fund. Don't be dramatic. You have your little online business. Wyatt needs... What? Another Rolex? A third car? Lower your voice, she hissed. The wolves will hear you. Right on cue, our neighbour Xander's booming laugh echoed from the dining room, followed by my father's performative chuckling. I could picture them congratulating themselves on their supposed business acumen, while my brother basked in their approval. Fine, I grabbed the dessert tray. Wouldn't want to disturb the golden child's moment. Back in the dining room, I served everyone with practised grace, playing my expected role of the dutiful daughter. My father barely acknowledged me, too busy regaling everyone with stories of Wyatt's medical school achievements. Top of his class, he bragged, though I knew from my own investigations that was far from true. Following in the footsteps of real professionals, not like these internet influencers Sloane wastes time with. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. If only they knew those influencers had helped me build a digital marketing empire worth millions, that their precious lifestyle depended entirely on my success, that every time they swiped a credit card, it was my money they were spending. Actually, Dad, I started, but Ruby's warning text flashed in my mind. Don't show your hand too soon. Wait for the right moment. Ruby, my business partner and the only person who knew the truth, was right. Tonight wasn't the time. Let them enjoy their last comfortable Christmas. Never mind, I murmured, excusing myself from the table. In my childhood bedroom, I opened my encrypted laptop, the one they thought I used for blogging, and logged into my company's secure server. Revenue streams from luxury brands scrolled across the screen, each number larger than my father had ever seen in his banking career. A new email from Cecilia caught my eye. More documents about the trust fund transfer. My father's forgery of my signature was clear as day. The final betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from Ruby. You okay? Remember, revenge is a dish best served cold. I typed back. Time to turn down the temperature. Looking out my window at our sprawling estate, I watched my family's carefully constructed facade glitter in the Christmas lights. They had no idea their comfortable world was built on my success, on my generosity, on my silence. But silence had never served me well. I opened my banking app and began setting up automated withdrawals, small ones at first, nothing too obvious. By the time they noticed, it would be too late. The house of cards they'd built on my foundation was about to collapse, one credit card decline at a time. Sloane! My mother's voice floated up the stairs. Your father's about to give his annual Christmas toast. I smiled, closing my laptop. Let him toast. Let them all celebrate. They have no idea what's coming. You know this is going to destroy them, right? Ruby set down her coffee mug, fixing me with that look she reserves for when I'm about to do something particularly destructive. We were sitting in her private office, 40 stories above Manhattan, where no one could overhear our conversation. They destroyed themselves, I replied, pulling up the latest expense report on my tablet. Look at this. Last month alone, $42,000 on entertainment. That's my money they're burning through. Show me the full damage. Ruby leaned forward, her designer blazer catching the morning light. As my CFO and best friend, she was the only person who knew both sides of my life. I scrolled through the list. private club memberships, $15,000 monthly, Wyatt's apartment, $6,000, Mum's weekly spa treatments, $2,000, Dad's wine collection. I laughed bitterly. I can't even look at that number without getting angry. And they have no idea it's all coming from your company? They think I play around with social media for pocket money. Meanwhile, I'm running one of the largest luxury digital marketing firms in the country. I stood up, walking to the window. You should have seen Dad at Christmas, telling everyone how disappointed he is that I never lived up to my potential. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. Darling, the country club declined our cards again. So embarrassing. Can you check with the bank? Must be their error. It's starting. I showed Ruby the message. I cancelled their club membership yesterday. Sloane? Ruby's voice carried a warning. Remember when we were starting out and you said you wanted to prove them wrong? This feels more like punishment than proof. A memory flashed. I was 16, showing my father my first website design. He'd barely glanced at it before launching into a lecture about how I was wasting my time with computers when I should be focusing on real work like my brother. You don't understand, I said. Every single day of my childhood it was, why can't you be more like Wyatt? Or, at least Wyatt knows what he wants to do with his life. They never saw me, never believed in me. Ruby stood up, walking over to join me at the window. So show them now. Tell them about the company, about everything you've built. It's too late for that. I pulled up another document on my tablet, the forged trust fund papers. They stole my future to fund his. They don't deserve to know about my success. My phone buzzed again, this time from Wyatt. Hey, sis, weird question. But did Mum and Dad say anything about money troubles? My rent payment bounced. Watch this, I showed Ruby as I typed back. No idea. Maybe ask Dad. I'm sure it's nothing. You're enjoying this, Ruby observed. Maybe a little. I wasn't proud of it, but the petty satisfaction felt good. Want to know what's really going to hurt? In about an hour, they're going to discover their credit cards have new limits. Very, very low limits. Right on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. First, my mother. Emergency. All cards declined at Bergdorf's. Call me. Then my father. Family meeting tonight? Non-negotiable? Finally, Wyatt. Dad's having a meltdown. What's going on? Ruby shook her head. You know they're going to start digging. What if they trace everything back to you? Let them try. I'd spent years building firewalls between my public and private lives. They'll have to admit they've been living off my money first. Can you imagine my father confessing that his disappointing daughter has been bankrolling his entire lifestyle? And what about Cecilia? The family lawyer knows everything. Cecilia's bound by client confidentiality. Besides, I smiled grimly, she's seen the forged documents. She knows exactly what they did with my trust fund. My phone rang. My mother again. I let it go to voicemail. You should at least answer, Ruby suggested. Maintain the illusion a little longer. I picked up my tablet instead, pulling up the family house deed. You know what would really maintain the illusion? If I list the house for sale right now. As trust fund executor, I have that right. Sloane! Ruby grabbed my arm. That's their home. No, I corrected her. That's my property that they've been living in rent-free. And I think it's time for them to understand exactly what playing around on computers can buy you these days. I hit the button to contact our real estate division. Within minutes, the wheels were in motion. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from my father. Your mother's in tears. I hope you're happy with yourself. I typed back, sorry, busy with my little hobby, can't talk right now. Ruby sighed heavily. I hope you know what you're doing. Trust me, I said, watching as the first for sale notification went live. I know exactly what I'm doing. The real question was, did they? The repo men came for Wyatt's BMW on a sunny Tuesday morning. I watched from my apartment window across town as they loaded it onto a flatbed truck, my brother gesturing wildly in his medical scrubs while the neighbours pretended not to stare. My phone started ringing immediately. "How could you let this happen?" Wyatt's voice cracked with rage. "I'm going to be late for my rotation." "Let what happen?" I kept my voice innocent. "I thought Dad handled all your car payments." "He did. I don't know what's going on, but fix it." "Sorry, little brother. My hobby doesn't pay enough to help with luxury cars." The line went dead. I counted down from 10, and right on schedule, my mother called. "The country club," she whispered, mortification dripping from every word. "We were hosting the charity committee luncheon, and the cards. Sloane, it was humiliating. Mrs. Wolfe had to cover the bill." "That sounds awful, Mom. Maybe cut back on the charity lunches for a while." "Cut back?" She sounded scandalised. "What would people think?" "They might think you're living beyond your means." Silence crackled over the line. Then, "Your father wants to speak with you." "Sloane!" My father's voice was tight with controlled anger. "We're meeting with Cecilia this afternoon. I expect you to be there." "Can't. I have work." "This isn't a request. 3:00. He hung up before I could respond. I smiled, opening my laptop to check the time of my actual 3:00. A video call with luxury brands in Milan worth more than my father's annual salary. At 3:15 I texted, "Sorry, stuck at work. Fill me in later." The response came from Cecilia herself. "Sloane, as your family's lawyer, I strongly advise you to attend this meeting. There are serious matters to discuss." I replied, "Send me the documents to review." 10 minutes later, my inbox pinged. I opened Cecilia's email, scanning through financial statements and legal notices. Then I saw it, buried in the middle of a trust fund document, my father's attempt at forging my signature. It wasn't even a good forgery. He'd spelled my middle name wrong. My phone buzzed again. "Wyatt, Dad's losing it. Says we might have to sell the house. What the hell is happening?" I switched to my secure email and sent Cecilia a simple message. "Please review page 47, paragraph 3, signature line. That's not my handwriting." The response was immediate. "Come to my office, now." I took my time getting there, stopping for coffee and watching through the glass as my family paced Cecilia's conference room. When I finally walked in, the tension was thick enough to cut. "Nice of you to join us," my father snapped. Sorry, busy earning pocket money." I sat down, noting how my mother wouldn't meet my eyes. Cecilia cleared her throat. "We need to discuss the trust fund irregularities." "Irregularities?" My father's face reddened. "A simple transfer to help Wyatt's education." "A transfer I never authorised," I interrupted, "with a forged signature." The room went silent. Wyatt looked between our father and me, confusion crossing his face. "What transfer?" "Your sister's trust fund," Cecilia explained carefully. "It was emptied 8 months ago. The signatures appear questionable." Questionable? I pulled out my phone, displaying my real signature from other documents. "Let's compare, shall we?" "Now see here," my father started, but Cecilia cut him off. "Edgar, I advise you not to speak further without separate representation." My mother burst into tears. "We needed the money, your father's investments." "Were failing," I finished, "so you stole my inheritance to cover your mistakes." "We did not steal," my father began. "Fraud, then," I suggested. "Should we ask Cecilia which word she prefers legally?" Wyatt stood up suddenly. "This is insane. Dad, tell her she's wrong." But our father's silence spoke volumes. "The house is in the trust's name," Cecilia continued, "given these circumstances." "You can't sell it," my mother whispered. "Where would we live?" I stood up, smoothing my designer dress, worth more than their monthly mortgage payment. Maybe it's time to start living within your actual means. Your actual means, my father spat, are nothing without family support. Remember that. I laughed, the sound sharp and cold. Are you sure about that? My phone buzzed, Ruby warning me not to reveal too much too soon. But watching their faces, seeing the first cracks in their perfect facade, I couldn't resist. Check your email, I told Cecilia. I've sent some additional documents about where that trust fund money really went. Spoiler alert, it wasn't all for medical school. Wyatt went pale. I headed for the door, pausing only to say, by the way, the house listing goes live tomorrow. I'd start packing. Behind me, my mother started sobbing again. But for the first time in years, the sound didn't make me feel guilty at all. The first potential buyers toured the house while my family was still living in it. I watched through the security cameras I'd installed years ago as my mother tried to maintain her composure, offering coffee to strangers who were examining her soon-to-be former home. This is cruel, Ruby said, watching over my shoulder in my office. Even for you, cruel was stealing my trust fund. I switched camera views to see my father in his study, frantically making phone calls. Cruel was making me feel worthless for 15 years. My phone lit up with Wyatt's name. I put it on speaker. You have to stop this, he pleaded. Mum's having anxiety attacks. Dad can't sleep. Just tell us what you want. I want the truth, I replied, about everything, including your gambling debts. The line went silent for a moment. How did you? I know about the underground poker games, the sports betting, the loans you took out using my trust fund as collateral. Should I continue? You don't understand, he whispered. I got in over my head. Dad said he'd handle it. With my money. It was a family emergency. No, I corrected him. It was your emergency, and now it's your problem. I hung up as Cecilia's number flashed on my screen. Your father is threatening legal action, she said without preamble. For what? Selling property I legally own? He's claiming emotional distress, financial sabotage. Sloane, he's desperate. I laughed. Good. This isn't a game. He's talking about exposing your fraudulent business practices on social media. That made me sit up straighter. Ruby shot me a concerned look. What exactly does he think he knows? I asked carefully. He's convinced your income must be illegal, says he'll prove you're running some sort of digital scam. I pulled up my company's public relations protocol on my second monitor. Let him try. Sloane, no, really, let him. I've got 15 years of documented success, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, and a spotless business record. What's he got? Forged documents and gambling debts? After hanging up, I turned to Ruby. Think it's time for phase 2? You mean revealing yourself as the CEO? That's going nuclear. Not yet. I pulled up my banking app, but maybe it's time to freeze the last of their credit lines. Ruby grabbed my wrist. Wait, what if they retaliate? Really retaliate? Your father has connections. Had connections, I corrected her, before I started cancelling country club memberships and calling in loans. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We know what you're doing. Stop now, or everyone learns the truth about your company. Day, see? Ruby pointed at my screen. They're getting desperate. Good. I forwarded the text to our legal team. Let them dig. Every rock they turn over will just expose more of their own lies. The security feed showed a new scene. My mother crying in the kitchen, while Mrs. Wolfe awkwardly patted her shoulder. I turned up the volume. It's just terrible, my mother sobbed. First the cards, then Wyatt's car, now the house. I don't understand what we did wrong. Mrs. Wolfe's response was unexpected. Perhaps it's time to ask Sloane for help. My mother's head snapped up. Sloane, she can barely support herself with that internet thing she does. Are you sure about that? Mrs. Wolfe's voice was careful. My husband says she's quite successful in digital marketing. Something about luxury brands. I watched my mother's face change as the first seed of doubt took root. That's impossible. She just posts things online. Vivian, darling, when was the last time you actually asked your daughter about her work? The camera caught my mother's stricken expression before she fled the room. Well, Ruby said quietly, that's one way for them to find out. My phone lit up again. My father. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now. I'm going public with everything I know about your business dealings. I typed back, funny, I was just about to do the same with yours. His response came quickly. You're bluffing. I sent him a single screenshot. Bank records showing exactly where my trust fund money had really gone. Not to medical school, but to cover gambling debts and failed investments. The security feed showed him receiving it, watching his face drain of colour. This could get ugly, Ruby warned. It already is ugly. I stood up, gathering my things. But I'm done hiding. Where are you going? Home, I said, checking my lipstick in my phone's reflection. I think it's time for a family meeting, a real one. Be careful, Ruby called after me. Cornered animals bite hardest. I stepped into the elevator, watching the floor numbers descend. She was right. This was the dangerous part. But I'd spent 15 years being careful, being quiet, being underestimated. I was done being any of those things. I found them all in the living room, huddled around my father's laptop like survivors around a campfire. Their heads snapped up when I walked in, designer heels clicking against the marble floors they couldn't afford. You've got some nerve showing up here, my father growled. It's still technically my house. I settled into my favourite armchair. Nice social media post, by the way. Calling me a fraud was a bold choice. Wyatt jumped up. You're destroying this family. No, your gambling debts did that. I pulled out my phone, displaying his betting history. Shall we discuss the $500,000 you lost last month alone? He collapsed back onto the sofa, face ashen. My mother gasped. Wyatt, tell me that's not true. It's all true, I continued, scrolling through documents. The forged checks, the maxed-out credit cards, the fake medical school transcripts. Fake? My mother's voice cracked. But you're top of your class. He's on academic probation, I corrected. Have been for months. The trust fund money didn't go to tuition, it went to bookies. My father stood up, looming over me. You think you can come in here and what? I met his gaze. Tell the truth. Someone should. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Xander Wolf's distinctive silver hair. Perfect timing, I smiled. Let him in, Mom. He should hear this too. Don't you dare, my father started, but Xander was already stepping into the room. Edgar, just saw your fascinating post about Sloane's fraudulent business practices. Xander's voice carried an edge of amusement. Thought I should stop by and clear up any confusion. My father's face reddened. This is a private family matter. Is it? Xander settled onto the couch. Because publicly accusing one of the most successful digital marketing CEOs in the country of fraud seems rather public. The room went silent. My mother's hand flew to her throat. CEO? Wyatt whispered. Oh yes, Xander continued cheerfully. Your sister's little hobby handles digital strategy for half the luxury brands in Europe. My investment firm has been trying to partner with her for years. I watched their faces as reality crashed through their carefully constructed illusions. My mother sank into a chair, her perfect posture crumbling. That's impossible, my father insisted. She just posts things online. She just built a 9-figure company, Xander corrected. Really, Edgar, did you never wonder how you could afford all this? He gestured around the room. The house, the cars, the memberships. We paid for everything ourselves. Through accounts I controlled, I interrupted. Every credit card, every loan, every investment. It all came from my company, My money, Wyatt's face had gone from pale to green. The gambling debts were covered by me, until now. My father lunged for his laptop. I'll delete the post. Too late. I showed him my phone screen. It's already been responded to by my company's PR team with full documentation of our corporate success and your financial fraud. As if on cue, his phone started ringing, then my mother's, then Wyatt's. The country club board, my mother whispered, staring at her screen. They're revoking our membership. The hospital, Wyatt choked out. They want to discuss my academic status. My father's phone kept buzzing. The bank, the investment group, everyone. Amazing how quickly people distance themselves from scandal, Xander observed mildly, especially financial scandal. You planned this, my father accused, pointing at me with a shaking finger. You orchestrated everything. No, I stood up, smoothing my dress. You did. Every time you belittled me, every time you stole from me, every time you chose him. I pointed at Wyatt. Over me. You built this house of cards. I'm just letting it fall. Where are we supposed to go? My mother's voice was small. What are we supposed to do? That's not my problem anymore. I headed for the door, pausing only to add, the house needs to be empty by Friday. The new owners are eager to move in. You can't just leave us with nothing, Wyatt shouted. I turned back one last time. Nothing? You mean like what you left me with when you took my trust fund? Funny how karma works. Xander followed me out, waiting until we were on the front steps to speak. That was rather spectacular. It's not over, I said, watching through the window as my family's world imploded. They'll try something else. They always do. But of course they will. He smiled grimly. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? My phone buzzed with a notification, an anonymous email threatening to expose everything. Let them try, I said, sliding into my car. I've got nothing left to hide. But as I drove away, Ruby's warning echoed in my head. Cornered animals bite hardest, and my family had just been cornered in the most public way possible. The social implosion was spectacular to watch, like a train wreck in slow motion. My parents had to move in with my mother's sister in New Jersey, a fact that mortified them more than the bankruptcy itself. Wyatt disappeared to rehab, though Ruby's sources spotted him in Las Vegas, trying to win back his losses. I was reviewing the fallout in Ruby's office when the first serious threat arrived. Your father's hired a private investigator, Ruby announced, dropping a file on her desk. They're digging into every contract, every client, every transaction we've ever made. Let them dig, I sipped my coffee. Everything's legal. It's not about legality anymore, Ruby leaned forward. They're looking for anything they can twist, any relationship they can poison. Your father's been calling our clients. That made me pause. Which ones? All of them. He's claiming you built the company using stolen family connections, that your success is based on his reputation. I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to me. His reputation is in shambles. Doesn't matter, he's creating doubt, and in luxury marketing, doubt is poison. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Wolfe. Having dinner with your mother. She's not well. Maybe it's time to end this. I deleted the message without responding. Sloane, Ruby's voice was gentle. Does it feel as good as you thought it would? Before I could answer, my office door burst open. Wyatt stormed in, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. Happy now? He threw a newspaper onto Ruby's desk. The society pages showed our parents leaving their bankruptcy hearing. Mom can barely leave the house. Dad's drinking constantly. Is this what you wanted? What I wanted? I stood up slowly. What I wanted was a family that didn't treat me like a disappointment. What I wanted was my trust fund not to be stolen. What I wanted was revenge, he cut in. Well, congratulations. You got it. We're ruined. You ruined yourselves. Maybe. He ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. But you didn't have to destroy everything. Like you destroyed my future? That money was supposed to help the family. By funding your gambling addiction? He flinched. I'm getting help. Too little? Too late? At least I'm trying. He slammed his hand on the desk. What's your excuse? When does this end, Sloane? When we're all completely broken? Ruby cleared her throat. I should give you two some privacy. No, I said sharply. He's leaving. Fine. Wyatt headed for the door, then turned back. But remember something, sis. You're not just hurting Mum and Dad. You're hurting yourself too. I see it in your eyes. This revenge isn't filling that hole inside you. It's making it bigger. After he left, Ruby touched my arm. He might have a point. Don't, I pulled away. They deserve everything they're getting. Do they? Or are you still that little girl desperate for their approval? I don't need their approval anymore. No? She pulled up our company's latest numbers. Then why do you keep checking if they've looked at our success metrics? Why do you monitor their social media? Why do you... My phone rang. Cecilia this time. Your father's filed a lawsuit. He's claiming emotional distress, defamation, and corporate espionage. Corporate what? I grabbed my laptop. Based on what? He's saying you used his business contacts without permission, that you built your client base by trading on his name. That's ridiculous. I built everything myself. I know that, but he's demanding a full audit of your company's early years, every meeting, every introduction, every contract. I felt the blood drain from my face, not because he could prove anything, but because an audit would reveal just how hard I'd worked to succeed without his help. How many doors had been closed in my face? How many times I'd been rejected because I refused to use the family name. Let him try, I said, but my voice shook. After hanging up, I found Ruby watching me with concern. Don't say it, I warned. Wasn't going to. She gathered her things. But maybe it's time to ask yourself, what hurts more, that they never believed in you, or that even now, with all your success, they still won't admit they were wrong? I stared out her office window at the Manhattan skyline. My empire stretched across those buildings, touch points of success in every luxury boutique and high-end retailer. I'd built it all while they mocked my hobby. My phone buzzed again, an email from my mother. Please, sweetheart, we can fix this. Come home. Home. As if that house had ever really been home. I deleted the email, but my hands were shaking. Damn it, I whispered. Ruby squeezed my shoulder as she left. The thing about revenge, Sloane, sometimes it costs more than the original injury. I watched my reflection in the window, wondering when I'd started looking as haunted as they did. The courtroom felt smaller than I expected. My father sat across the aisle, his expensive suit now wrinkled, his face haggard. My mother wasn't there. According to Mrs. Wolfe, she'd been prescribed anxiety medication and rarely left her sister's house. Wyatt slumped in the back row, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. All rise, the bailiff called. Ruby squeezed my hand before taking her seat behind me. Cecilia arranged her documents at our table, her expression grim. Are you sure about this? She whispered. We could still settle. No, I straightened my spine. Let's finish it. The judge reviewed the complaints, then looked at my father's lawyer. You may proceed. What followed was a character assassination dressed as legal argument. My father's lawyer painted me as a manipulative daughter who'd stolen family connections, betrayed trust, and deliberately orchestrated my family's financial ruin. Then came the evidence. Your Honour, my father's lawyer held up a document. This shows Miss Bennett using her father's business contacts to secure early contracts. Objection, Cecilia stood. Those aren't her father's contacts. They're clients who chose to work with her company based on merit. Really? He smiled coldly, then explained this email, where she mentions her father's name. to explain why she specifically wouldn't be using family connections, Cecilia countered. The full email, please. The complete message appeared on the courtroom screen. My words from 8 years ago. While my father is known in financial circles, I'm building this company independently. My success or failure will be my own. A murmur ran through the courtroom. I saw my father shift uncomfortably. And the trust fund allegations? The judge peered at the lawyers. Cecilia produced the forged documents. Evidence of unauthorized transfers, Your Honour, with falsified signatures. My father stood up suddenly. It was for the family. Everything I did was for this family. Mr. Bennet, the judge warned, sit down. No, he pointed at me. She's twisted everything. She let us believe we were secure while plotting to destroy us. You destroyed yourselves, I finally spoke. I just stopped enabling it. Enabling? He laughed bitterly. You're my daughter. Family takes care of family. Like you took care of me? I stood too, ignoring Cecilia's warning tug on my sleeve. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about every time you dismissed my work, every time you mocked my ambitions, every time you stole from my future to cover his gambling debts, I pointed at Wyatt. Order, the judge banged her gavel. You want to talk about family? I continued. Show them the account records, Cecilia. Show everyone exactly how they took care of my trust fund. The numbers appeared on screen, transfer after transfer, each one authorized by forged signatures. And here, Cecilia highlighted a section, are the gambling debts covered by these transfers. And here, another highlight, are the luxury purchases. And here, enough! My father's face was purple. You ungrateful, I laughed. I built an empire while you were spending it. I succeeded despite you, not because of you. And now you're suing me because I finally stopped paying for your delusions? The judge banged her gavel again. Both of you, sit down. This is a courtroom, not a family therapy session. But something had broken open. Years of silence spilled out. Tell them, Dad. Tell them how you really felt about my little hobby. Tell them what you said every time I achieved something. That it wasn't real work, that it wasn't respectable, that Wyatt was the only one with a real future. I was trying to protect you. From what? Success, independence, self-respect. From failure, he shouted. From the humiliation of what? Being more successful than you? The courtroom went silent. My father seemed to deflate, aging years in seconds. Your Honour, Cecilia said quietly, we have documentation proving every allegation. The trust fund theft, the gambling cover-ups, the financial fraud. We're not just defending against their lawsuit. We're filing countercharges. The judge reviewed the evidence, her expression hardening. Mr. Bennet, given these documents, I strongly advise you to withdraw your suit, unless you prefer to discuss these financial irregularities with the district attorney. My father slumped in his chair. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Case dismissed, the judge declared. And Mr. Bennet, I'd contact a criminal defence attorney if I were you. As people filed out, Wyatt caught my eye. Was it worth it? He asked softly. Burning everything down? I watched our father being consoled by his lawyer, saw the defeat in his shoulders, the ruin of his carefully maintained facade. Ask me tomorrow, I replied. Ruby appeared at my side. Come on, let's get out of here. But as we left the courthouse, I couldn't shake the feeling that winning felt nothing like I'd imagined. The moving truck pulled away from my new brownstone as Ruby helped me carry the last box inside. The autumn breeze scattered leaves across the steps, red and gold like the last embers of my revenge. Nice place, she said, setting down the box. Different from the old neighbourhood. That's the point. I unlocked my phone to find 3 missed calls from my mother and a text from Wyatt. Dad took a plea deal, probation and restitution. Mum's asking about you. You going to call them back? Ruby asked, reading over my shoulder. Eventually. I walked to the window, watching people pass by on the tree-lined street. No pretense here, no keeping up appearances, just life, unvarnished and real. The doorbell rang. Xander Wolf stood on my steps, holding a bottle of wine. "Housewarming," he explained, stepping inside, "though I suspect you have better vintages than this." "It's not about the price tag anymore." I led them to the kitchen, where moving boxes created makeshift seats. "How are they, really?" Xander considered his answer. "Your father's humbled, working as a financial consultant for a small firm, legitimate this time. Your mother's in therapy, finally dealing with her anxiety. And Wyatt." He smiled slightly. "He's actually attending his Gamblers Anonymous meetings." "Good for them." I meant it, surprising myself. "They're learning to live within their means," Xander continued. "It's not pretty, but it's honest, rather like that conversation in court." Ruby poured the wine. "Speaking of honest conversations..." My phone buzzed again, an email from Cecilia. "Your father asked about setting up a repayment plan for the trust fund. Small amounts, but consistent. He seems sincere." "Are you going to accept?" Ruby asked. "I don't need the money." "That's not why he's offering," Xander observed. "Sometimes repayment is about more than money." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mrs. Wolf, carrying a small package. "Found this while helping your mother pack," she said, handing it to me. "She wanted you to have it." Inside was a framed photo I'd never seen before. Me at 16, hunched over my first laptop, completely absorbed in coding. On the back, my mother's handwriting. "Sloane's first website design. She's so focused, just like her father used to be." "She kept this?" My voice cracked. "She kept a lot of things," Mrs. Wolf said gently. "Pride is a complicated thing to swallow, dear. For all of you." My phone lit up with another text from Wyatt. "Remember when you helped me with my science fair project? Before everything got so messed up? I miss that, sister." "The thing about revenge," Ruby said quietly, "is that it shows you who you really are. The question is, do you like what you see?" I looked around my new kitchen. No marble countertops or crystal glasses, just honest materials and morning light. On my laptop, a notification popped up. Another luxury brand wanting to partner with my company. Success built on merit, not manipulation. "I don't regret exposing the truth," I said finally. "But maybe there's room for a different kind of truth now." I picked up my phone and typed, "Mom, the house on Cedar Street, the small one you always said had potential. It's for sale, within your new budget. Just saying." The response came quickly. "Really? Would you look at it with me?" I showed the message to Ruby. "Is this a mistake?" "Depends," she replied. "Are you doing it to control them or to help them?" "I don't know yet." "Then that's your answer," Xander said. "You're already asking better questions." I typed back, "Saturday morning, but we're taking my car, and afterward maybe coffee. There's some things I'd like to tell you about my company, my real company." Mum's response, "I'd like that. I have things to tell you too. I'm sorry it took losing everything to learn how to listen." Mrs. Wolf raised her wine glass. "To new foundations." "To honest success," Ruby added. "To real family," Xander offered. I looked at the photo again. That focused teenage girl who just wanted to build something of her own. She'd done it, but at what cost? Maybe now it was time to build something else. Something harder than an empire, more valuable than revenge. "To truth," I said, raising my glass. "All of it, even the parts that hurt." My phone buzzed one last time. Wyatt. "Dad asked if you'd consider lunch someday. No agenda, no excuses, just lunch." I smiled, feeling the weight of revenge finally lifting. "Tell him I know a place, nothing fancy, just real food, real talk." After all, I didn't believe in forgiveness. But maybe, just maybe, I believed in starting over.
It wouldn't be a party if someone didn't bring their drama. Mine just came in the form of family. My name is Kayla, and I've been planning this housewarming party for 3 months. Not the party itself, that took maybe 2 weeks to organize. No, I've been planning what would happen at this party for 3 months. Every detail, every conversation, every moment of beautiful, inevitable chaos. This place is incredible. My coworker Sarah spun around the marble foyer, wine glass in hand. I can't believe you actually did it, your own house. I smiled, accepting the compliment like I'd earned it, which in a way I had, just not how she thought. The house was perfect, vaulted ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pristine pool, kitchen island bigger than my first apartment. The kind of place that screamed success. The kind of place that would make certain people absolutely lose their minds with envy. 5 years of saving, I told Sarah, which wasn't entirely a lie. I had been saving, just not for this house. Vada appeared at my elbow, champagne flute in hand, eyes sparkling with mischief. How are you feeling about tonight? Ready, I said simply. She grinned. Good, because I just saw a very familiar car pull up outside. My heart rate spiked, but I kept my expression neutral. Through the massive front windows, I watched a beat-up Honda Civic park behind the line of guests' cars. 3 figures emerged. My mother Blair, my father Kyle, and my very pregnant sister Callie. They had suitcases. Oh my God, Sarah whispered beside me. Are those your parents? They're moving in? The front door opened without a knock, because of course it did. Surprise! My mother's voice carried across the entire first floor, cutting through conversations like a knife. We're here to save you from yourself. Every guest turned to stare. Blair stood in the doorway wearing her best martyred mother expression, arms spread wide like she was announcing the second coming. Behind her, Kyle dragged 2 large suitcases, looking uncomfortable but determined. Callie waddled in last, one hand on her enormous belly, the other clutching a pillow. Mom, I said, walking toward them with what I hoped looked like surprise. What are you doing here? What does it look like? We're moving in! Blair's voice carried that familiar edge of manufactured excitement that meant she was about to make everyone else's problem her solution. You can't live in this big house all alone. It's not healthy. The room had gone completely silent. 30 of my coworkers, friends, and neighbors watched this family drama unfold like it was dinner theater. But I'm not alone, I said carefully. I have guests. Well, they'll leave eventually. Blair waved dismissively. Family is forever. Callie stepped forward, rubbing her belly dramatically. I need somewhere safe to raise the baby. Nick and I are getting divorced, and I can't do this alone. Of course you can't, I said, my voice honey-sweet. Come in, let me show you around. I caught Vada's eye. She was practically vibrating with anticipation. Everyone, please continue enjoying yourselves, I announced to my guests. Family reunion in progress? A few people laughed nervously. Most just stared. I led my family through the house, watching their faces light up at each room. The gourmet kitchen made my mother gasp. The master suite made my father whistle low. The nursery, God, the nursery, made Callie actually tear up. This is perfect, she whispered, hand on her belly. The baby will love it here. I'm sure they will, I agreed. Kyle was examining the crown molding like he was appraising it. Must have cost a fortune. How'd you afford all this? Hard work, I said. You know those 60-hour weeks you used to lecture me about? They paid off. Blair was already rearranging throw pillows. Well, we're here now. You won't have to work so hard anymore. Family takes care of family. Behind us, I could hear my guests making polite excuses and heading for the door. The party was effectively over, which was exactly what I'd expected. Where should we put our things? Callie asked, settling into the leather sectional like she owned it. Wherever you're comfortable, I said. 2 hours later, after the last guest had awkwardly departed, I walked into the master bedroom to find my mother unpacking my carefully hung clothes from the walk-in closet. "What are you doing?" I asked. She looked up, holding one of my work blazers. "Making room, honey. Your father and I need the master suite. You understand." I stared at her for a long moment, watching her fold my clothes into neat piles on the bed. My clothes. In my house. Except it wasn't my house, was it? "Of course," I said finally. "I understand perfectly. The last time my family helped me, I lost my apartment. I was 25, finally stable after years of temp work and ramen dinners. Small place, but it was mine. Then my parents got foreclosed on, and suddenly I was the ungrateful daughter who wouldn't let them crash on my couch just until they got back on their feet. 6 months later, I was broke, evicted, and sleeping on Vada's floor, while my parents moved into a nice rental across town. Apparently, they'd been saving money the whole time I was paying their bills. "You're so responsible," my mother had said when I handed over my last paycheck. "We knew you'd figure it out." Now, watching Blair reorganize my closet like she was doing me a favor, that old familiar rage bubbled up. But this time, I had a plan. "I'll take the guest room," I said, grabbing an armful of my clothes. "That's my girl, always so accommodating." Blair patted my cheek like I was 12. "Your sister needs the nursery, obviously, and your father's back can't handle those stairs to the loft." I nodded, carrying my things down the hall. Through the window, I could see Kyle setting up a grill on the patio like he'd lived here for years. Callie was floating in the pool, her pregnancy belly making her look like a content whale. My phone buzzed. "Vada." "How's the invasion going?" "According to plan," I typed back. "You sure you want to do this? It's pretty nuclear." I looked out at my father flipping burgers on a grill I'd never seen before, probably bought with money they didn't have. I'm sure. Dinner was a surreal experience. We sat around the massive dining table, the one I'd specifically requested for the Airbnb because it looked so impressive, while my family discussed their plans for my life. "We should get the utilities switched over first thing Monday," Kyle said, cutting into his steak. "I'm better with that stuff anyway." "And I want to repaint the nursery," Callie added. "That beige is so boring. Maybe a nice yellow? Gender neutral." "What about your apartment?" I asked her. "Your lease?" She waved dismissively. "Month to month. I already gave notice." "And Nick?" "What about him? He can visit the baby here. This is better for everyone." Blair reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You've done so well, honey. But you don't have to carry this burden alone anymore." "Burden?" "This house. It's too much for one person. Too expensive. Too big. Too lonely." She gestured around the room. "You need family, especially now that you're getting older." I was 30. Callie was 24 and pregnant with her second divorce. But sure, I was the one who needed saving. "You're right," I said. "I have been lonely." "See? Mother knows best." Blair smiled triumphantly. "Tomorrow we'll start making this place feel like a real home." After dinner, I helped clean up while my family settled in for the night. Kyle found a baseball game on the massive TV. Callie sprawled across the sectional, complaining about her back. Blair organized the kitchen like she was preparing for a siege. "Where did you get all this fancy stuff?" she asked, examining a copper pot that probably cost more than my car payment. "Saved up," I said. "You know how I am with money. Too careful, if you ask me. Money's meant to be spent." She opened the wine fridge and whistled. "This is nice. Your father will love having his beer properly chilled." I excused myself and went to the guest room, my room apparently, and called Vada. "They're nesting," I said quietly. "Already?" "My mom's reorganizing the kitchen. My dad bought a grill. Callie's picking paint colors." "Jesus, and you're just letting them?" I looked out the window at the pool, where underwater lights cast everything in an ethereal blue glow. "For now. The owners get back Thursday. I know. Kayla, are you sure about this? Once this happens, there's no going back." I thought about my real house across town. Small, modest, but completely mine. No one else's name on the deed. No one else's opinion about the paint colors or furniture placement. Just me, finally free. There's already no going back, I said. They made sure of that years ago. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of power tools. Through my window, I could see Kyle installing something on the patio. A ceiling fan, apparently, because nothing says temporary stay like home improvement projects. Blair was in the kitchen, on the phone with someone about grocery delivery. Yes, this is the address now. We'll need the usual order, plus some things for the baby. I found a real estate brochure on the counter. Not for this house, for a small bungalow across town. My actual house. What's this? Blair held it up, frowning. My heart stopped for exactly 1 second. Then I smiled. Work project, I said smoothly. Market analysis. She nodded, already losing interest. Well, don't bring work home. You're supposed to be relaxing now that we're here to help. I took the brochure and tucked it into my purse. Of course. What was I thinking? By Tuesday morning, they'd completely taken over. I woke up to find Kyle installing a baby gate at the top of the stairs. Safety first, he said when he saw me staring. Can't have the little one tumbling down. In the kitchen, Blair was labeling shelves with a label maker she'd apparently bought. Organization is key to a happy home, she announced, slapping Callie's prenatal vitamins on a cabinet door. Callie sat at the breakfast bar, scrolling through her phone. I found the perfect crib online. It'll look amazing in the nursery. And look. She turned her screen toward me. Matching changing table and dresser set. That's expensive, I said, looking at the $3,000 price tag. It's an investment. Besides, you can afford it now that you're not paying rent alone. I wasn't paying rent at all, but they didn't need to know that. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. Good furniture sells out fast. Callie rubbed her belly. Your nephew deserves the best. Nephew? We found out yesterday. Kyle James, after Grandpa. She beamed. Isn't that perfect? Kyle looked up from his baby gate project, grinning. My first grandson, named after me. The doorbell rang before I could respond. Blair rushed to answer it like she'd been expecting someone. Delivery. A man stood outside with boxes stacked on a dolly. Nursery furniture? That's us. Blair signed for the packages without hesitation. Just put everything in the front room for now. I watched them wheel in box after box. Crib, changing table, dresser, rocking chair, lamp, mobile. Thousands of dollars worth of baby furniture. I thought you were going to think about it, I said to Callie. I did, for like 5 minutes. Then I realized how silly that was. She struggled to her feet. Come on, let's go look at the nursery again. I want to show you my vision. The nursery was the smallest bedroom, but it had the best natural light. Callie walked around it like she was staging a photo shoot. Crib goes here, facing the window so Kyle James can see the garden. Changing table there, dresser along that wall. And I'm thinking we paint this accent wall a soft sage green. Very trendy. What about the current paint? What about it? It's boring beige. This is going to be so much better. She pulled out her phone. I already called a painter. He's coming Thursday to give us an estimate. Thursday, the day Fabian and Jacob were supposed to return. Thursday might not work, I said carefully. Why not? I might have work stuff. Callie rolled her eyes. You work too much. That's why you need us here, to help you remember what's important. My phone buzzed. Text from Vada. Emergency meeting. Coffee shop on 5th. Now. I have to run out, I said. Work emergency. See what I mean? Callie called after me. You can't keep living like this. I found Vada at our usual corner table, laptop open, looking stressed. We have a problem, she said without preamble. What kind of problem? Fabian texted. He and Jacob are coming back early. Tomorrow instead of Thursday. My stomach dropped. How early? Flight lands at 2 p.m. They'll be at the house by 4. I calculated quickly. My family would be there. Kyle would probably be grilling lunch, Blair would be organizing something, Callie would be napping by the pool. That's not a problem, I said slowly. That's perfect. Perfect? Kayla, they're going to call the police. Probably. Vada stared at me. You want them to call the police. I want my family to experience consequences, real ones, the kind they've never had to face because I always fixed everything for them. This is insane. You could get arrested too. For what? I rented the place legitimately. I have the receipt. My family are the ones trespassing. Vada closed her laptop. And after? When the dust settles and your family hates you forever? I thought about my real house. The mortgage in my name only. The keys that only I possessed. The quiet mornings with coffee and no one telling me how to live my life. Then I'll finally be free. That afternoon, I went to my actual house to check on things. It was a modest bungalow in a quiet neighborhood, nothing like the mansion my family was currently destroying. But it was mine. Every payment, every repair, every decision had been mine alone. I watered the plants and checked the mail. Normal, boring homeowner stuff. The kind of stuff my family would never let me do in peace. My phone rang. Blair. Where are you? Dinner's almost ready. I'm at work. I'll be home soon. Well, hurry up. Your father grilled salmon and Callie made that salad you like. I looked around my real kitchen at the simple table for one, the single coffee mug in the sink. I'll be right there. When I got back to the Airbnb, the smell of grilled fish filled the air. Kyle was at his new grill, spatula in hand like he was born to barbecue. Blair had set the table with cloth napkins and the good china. Callie was arranging flowers in a vase. There she is, Kyle called out. Just in time. This salmon is perfect. We sat down to dinner like a normal family. Like we'd been living together for years instead of days. Like this was sustainable. I've been thinking, Blair said, cutting into her fish. We should transfer the utilities to your father's name. He's better at managing that stuff and it'll be one less thing for you to worry about. I took a sip of wine. That's thoughtful of you. And I want to add my name to the grocery delivery account, Callie added. I have specific dietary needs now. Of course. Kyle nodded approvingly. It's good to see you finally accepting help. You've been carrying this burden alone for too long. I smiled and raised my glass. To family. To family, they echoed. We clinked glasses as the sun set over the pool, casting everything in golden light. It was almost beautiful. Almost. Wednesday morning, I woke up to the sound of a drill. Kyle was mounting a flat-screen TV in the guest room. My room. Figured you'd want something to watch while you're getting ready for work, he said, not looking up from his project. That's thoughtful. Your mother picked it out. Said you needed something nice since you're stuck in the small room? In the kitchen, Blair was unpacking boxes from storage. Photo albums, knickknacks, Kyle's golf trophies. She was arranging them on the mantel like she was decorating her own home. Where did all this come from? I asked. Storage unit. We've been paying for it since the foreclosure, but now we can finally bring our things home. She held up a ceramic angel that had belonged to my grandmother. Doesn't this look perfect here? Callie wandered in wearing a silk robe that definitely wasn't hers. Is that my old robe? I asked. You left it in the master closet. It's so comfortable for pregnancy. She stretched, showing off her belly. I hope you don't mind. We're practically sisters anyway. Right. Sisters. My phone buzzed. Vada. Painter just called. Your mom scheduled him for 10 a.m. today. I looked up to find Blair watching me. Everything okay, honey? Just work stuff. I should probably head to the office early today. You work too hard. When's the last time you took a real vacation? I don't know. A while. Well, now you can relax. We're here to take care of everything. She patted my shoulder. Family first, remember? I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. I'll see you tonight. Wait, Callie called after me. Can you stop by the baby store on your way home? I need more prenatal vitamins and they have this adorable mobile I want to look at. Sure. And pick up some of that expensive ice cream I like. The pregnancy cravings are killing me. Of course. I drove straight to my real house instead of work. The quiet hit me immediately. No drilling, no unpacking, no demands. Just silence and the smell of the lavender candles I'd lit the night before. I made coffee in my own kitchen, sat at my own table, and breathed for the first time in days. This was what peace felt like. This was what I'd been fighting for. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Kayla? This is Nick, Callie's, well, her husband. Technically, Nick. I'd met him maybe 3 times in the 2 years he'd been married to my sister. Quiet guy, seemed decent enough before Callie steamrolled him. Hi, Nick. What's up? I'm at your house, the big one with the pool. But something's not right here. My heart rate spiked. What do you mean? I mean, your sister invited me over to talk about the baby, but this place... Kayla, you don't own this house. Silence stretched between us. How do you know that? Because I'm a real estate appraiser. It's literally my job. This house sold 6 months ago to a guy named Fabian. I can pull the records right now. I closed my eyes. Are you going to tell them? That depends. What exactly are you doing here? It's complicated. I've got time. I found myself telling him everything. The foreclosure, the years of financial manipulation, the way my family had moved in like they owned the place. Nick listened without interrupting. Jesus, he said finally. That's actually brilliant and completely insane. You think I'm crazy. I think you're desperate. There's a difference. He paused. Callie's been telling me about this amazing house you bought, how successful you are, how you're finally ready to help family. She wants me to move in, too. What? She thinks if we all live together, we can work on our marriage. Use your success as a foundation for our relationship. I laughed, but it came out bitter. Of course she does. The thing is, I know my wife. She's not trying to reconcile. She's trying to secure her future, and she's using you to do it. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to watch this play out, because honestly, she deserves whatever's coming. That afternoon, I stopped by the baby store like Callie had asked. I bought the vitamins, looked at the mobile, even picked up the expensive ice cream, playing the part until the very end. When I got back to the house, the painter was finishing up in the nursery. Soft sage green, just like Callie had wanted. It looked beautiful. What do you think? Callie asked, appearing beside me. Perfect for Kyle James, right? It's lovely. I knew you'd love it. You have such good taste. She rubbed her belly. He's going to be so happy here. We all are. Blair emerged from the master bedroom holding a stack of mail. This came for you today. Bills, mostly. I went ahead and opened them. She handed me the electric bill, water bill, cable bill, all addressed to the house we were standing in, all with amounts that would make my family's eyes water. These are pretty high, Blair said, frowning. Maybe we should look into budget plans. Maybe, I agreed. My phone buzzed. Text from Fabian. Flight changed again. Landing at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Be home by 4. Thanks for house sitting. Can't wait to see the place. I looked around at my family's handiwork. The mounted TVs, the painted nursery, the personal belongings scattered everywhere. The baby furniture still in boxes in the living room. Everything okay? Kyle asked, noticing my expression. Perfect, I said. Everything's perfect. That night, I lay in the guest bed listening to my family settle in for another night in their dream home. Kyle's snoring from the master bedroom, Blair's late-night TV shows, Callie moving around the nursery, probably imagining her son sleeping there. Tomorrow, it would all be over. Tomorrow they'd learn what it felt like to lose everything in a single moment, just like I had 5 years ago. Thursday morning arrived with the sound of a delivery truck. I watched from the kitchen window as 2 men unloaded a massive sectional sofa. Blair directed them like a traffic controller, pointing toward the front door. "Surprise!" she called when she saw me watching. "I ordered new furniture for the living room. That old stuff was so impersonal." "You bought furniture?" "Well, technically you bought it. I used the credit card from your purse, the one for emergencies." She beamed. "This definitely qualifies as an emergency. We can't have Kyle James growing up with ugly furniture." The sectional was cream-colored leather, the kind that would show every stain and scratch. It probably cost more than my car. "Do you like it?" Callie asked, emerging from the nursery. I picked the color. Very sophisticated. "It's something." Kyle appeared with a toolbox. "I'm going to mount the new TV above the fireplace. Really make this place feel like home." I checked my phone. 11 a.m. Fabian's flight would be landing in 3 hours. "I need to run some errands," I said. "Can you pick up groceries?" Blair handed me a list. "I'm making a special dinner tonight. Celebration meal." "What are we celebrating?" "Our new life together, of course. Family unity." She squeezed my arm. "I'm so proud of how you've grown up, honey. Finally putting family first." I drove to the grocery store and bought everything on Blair's list. Expensive steaks, imported wine, fresh flowers for the table. If this was going to be their last meal in paradise, it might as well be a good one. At work, my coworkers were still talking about my housewarming party. "Your family seems so close," Sarah said during lunch. "It must be nice having them there to help you settle in." "It's something," I said. "And your sister's baby. How exciting. You're going to be such a good aunt." I smiled and nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. In a few hours, Fabian would walk into his house to find strangers eating dinner at his table. The thought should have made me nervous. Instead, I felt calm. My phone buzzed. Text from Nick. "Callie invited me for dinner tonight. Should I come?" "Absolutely," I typed back. "You won't want to miss this." At 3 p.m., I left work early. Time to set the stage for the final act. I stopped at the wine store and bought 2 bottles of champagne, then the flower shop for an expensive bouquet. Finally, the bakery for a chocolate cake that cost more than most people spend on groceries. When I got back to the house, the smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. Blair was in the kitchen, cooking like she was auditioning for a food show. The new sectional dominated the living room, and Kyle had successfully mounted a 75-inch TV above the fireplace. "Perfect timing," Blair called out. "Dinner's almost ready, and look what came today." She gestured toward the dining room, where a crystal chandelier now hung over the table. It was beautiful and completely out of place in what was supposed to be a temporary living situation. "When did you order that?" "Yesterday. I thought the lighting was too harsh in here. This is much more elegant." Callie waddled out of the nursery, glowing with satisfaction. "Come see. The furniture's all set up." The nursery was transformed. Crib assembled, changing table stocked with supplies, rocking chair positioned perfectly by the window. It looked like something from a magazine. "It's beautiful," I said honestly. "I know, right? Kyle James is going to love it here." She rubbed her belly. "Nick's coming for dinner. I think seeing all this will help him understand what we're building." The doorbell rang at 5:30. Nick stood on the doorstep holding a bottle of wine, looking like he was attending a funeral instead of a family dinner. "Nice place," he said, stepping inside. His eyes swept over the new furniture, the mounted TV, the crystal chandelier. "Very permanent." "Isn't it wonderful?" Blair appeared, wiping her hands on an apron. "Kayla's finally created a real home for all of us." Nick's eyes found mine. "I'm sure she has." We sat down to dinner at 6 p.m. The table was set with the good china, cloth napkins, and fresh flowers. Blair had outdone herself with the meal: perfectly cooked steaks, roasted vegetables, homemade bread. "This is incredible, Mom," Callie said, cutting into her steak. "You should cook like this more often." "Well, now I have a proper kitchen to work with, and time, since I don't have to worry about rent or utilities anymore." Kyle raised his wine glass. "To Kayla, for giving us this opportunity. And to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," everyone echoed. I sipped my wine and checked my phone under the table. 6:15 p.m. Fabian should be getting close. You seem distracted, Nick observed. Everything okay? Just tired. Long day at work. You work too hard, Blair said for the 100th time. That's going to change now that we're here to support you. Speaking of support, Callie said, Nick and I have been talking. We think it would be good for our marriage if he moved in too, just until we figure things out. Nick nearly choked on his wine. I never said that. But you were thinking it, right? This place is perfect for raising a family. Our family. Callie, it makes sense. We're all here. We're all happy. Why complicate things? I stood up abruptly. I need some air. I walked out to the patio, where Kyle's new grill sat like a monument to his territorial instincts. The pool lights were on, casting everything in that ethereal blue glow. It really was beautiful. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Fabian. Just pulled into the driveway. There are cars here. Is everything okay? I typed back quickly. Everything's fine. Come on in. Through the sliding glass doors, I could see my family finishing dinner. Blair was serving the expensive cake I'd bought. Callie was showing Nick something on her phone, probably more baby furniture. Kyle was adjusting the volume on his new TV. They looked happy, settled, like they belonged there. In about 30 seconds, they were going to learn that belonging somewhere and owning it were two very different things. The front door opened. Hello? A man's voice called out. Who's in my house? Game time. The dining room went dead silent. Through the glass doors, I watched my family's faces change from confusion to alarm. Kyle stood up first, napkin still tucked into his collar. Can I help you? Kyle called toward the front door, his voice carrying that forced authority he used when he felt threatened. Two men appeared in the doorway. Fabian was tall and lean, wearing a travel-wrinkled button-down. Jacob stood behind him, shorter and stockier, both of them looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. I'm sorry, Fabian said, his voice carefully controlled. But who are you? And why are you in my house? Blair shot to her feet, smoothing her dress. Your house? I think there's been some confusion. This is my daughter's home. No, Fabian said slowly. This is definitely my house. I own it. I have the deed. Callie struggled to stand, one hand on her belly. That's impossible. Kayla bought this place months ago. Jacob stepped forward, pulling out his phone. I'm calling the police. Wait. Kyle held up his hands. Let's all calm down. There's obviously been some misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, Fabian said, his voice getting sharper, is why strangers are eating dinner in my dining room. I walked in from the patio, timing my entrance perfectly. What's going on? Kayla! Blair rushed toward me. Thank God you're here. These men are claiming they own the house. I looked at Fabian and Jacob, then back at my family. I can explain. Please do, Fabian said. This is Fabian and Jacob. They're the actual owners. I kept my voice calm, matter of fact. I rented the house from them for the weekend, for my housewarming party. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Rented? Blair's voice came out as a whisper. Through Airbnb, 3 days, Friday through Sunday. The rental period ended Sunday night. Kyle's face went through several colors. But you said you bought it. No, I didn't. You assumed I bought it. I just didn't correct you. Callie sank back into her chair. So where do you actually live? I have a house, a real one, across town. Small, but it's mine. And we're not invited, Nick said quietly. It wasn't a question. No, you're not. Blair's shock was transforming into rage. You let us move in here? You let us buy furniture and paint the nursery and... I didn't let you do anything. You did it yourselves, without asking. We're your family. You're trespassers. Jacob had his phone pressed to his ear. Yes, police? I need to report people illegally occupying my property. Kyle stepped toward me, his face red. How could you do this to us? We trusted you. Like I trusted you when you moved into my apartment and never left? Like I trusted you when you spent my savings and left me homeless? That was different. We needed help. And I needed boundaries, which you've never respected. Fabian was looking around his house taking inventory. Did you mount a TV above my fireplace? That was me, Kyle said weakly. And paint my guest room? The nursery, Callie whispered. For the baby. You painted my house for a baby? Jacob's voice pitched higher. Without permission? Blair found her voice again. We didn't know. She lied to us. I never lied. I just didn't stop you from lying to yourselves. Nick stood up slowly. I think I should go. No. Callie grabbed his arm. We need to figure this out. We need to leave, Nick said firmly. Right now, before the police get here. But where will we go? Callie's voice cracked. I gave up my apartment. I bought furniture. I painted the nursery. You can figure it out, I said. You're very resourceful when you need to be. Blair stepped closer to me, her eyes blazing. You planned this. You planned all of this. Yes. You wanted us to be humiliated. I wanted you to experience consequences, for once in your lives. We're your family. You're people who share my DNA. There's a difference. Through the front windows, I could see red and blue lights approaching. The police were almost here. You need to gather your things and leave, Fabian said, his voice gentler now. I don't want to press charges, but you can't stay here. Kyle was already moving toward the stairs. Come on, Blair, let's pack. I can't believe this, Callie said, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe you'd do this to your own nephew. Your son will be fine. You'll figure it out. How can you be so cold? I looked at her sitting there, 8 months pregnant and genuinely shocked that her actions had consequences. I learned from the best. The police knocked on the door. Fabian went to answer it while my family scrambled to collect their belongings. Blair was crying now, ugly sobs that might have moved me once upon a time. Officer, these people were illegally occupying my home, I heard Fabian explain. They're leaving now, but I wanted it documented. Kyle came downstairs with suitcases, his face gray. The TV's mounted. I can't get it down without tools. Leave it, Fabian said. Just go. Callie was in the nursery, staring at the crib she'd assembled with such hope. All this furniture will be donated, Jacob said firmly. You can't take it. But I paid for it. With stolen credit cards, I said, from my purse. The police officer appeared in the doorway. Ma'am, you need to leave the premises immediately. Blair turned to me one last time. I hope you're happy. I'm getting there. This isn't over. Yes, it is. They filed out like refugees, carrying their suitcases and their shattered assumptions. Nick followed behind them, catching my eye as he passed. For what it's worth, he said quietly. They had this coming. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Fabian and Jacob stood in their reclaimed living room, surveying the damage. New furniture, mounted TVs, a crystal chandelier that definitely hadn't been there when they left. I'm sorry about all this, I said. Are you? Fabian asked. Really? I considered the question. I'm sorry you got caught in the middle, but I'm not sorry it happened. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. Outside, car doors slammed. Engines started. My family drove away into the night, leaving me alone with the strangers who owned the house where I'd just destroyed my relationships with the people who'd raised me. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like the end of something I hadn't realized I'd been holding on to. The police officer wanted statements from everyone. So let me get this straight, Officer Martinez said, pen poised over his notepad. You rented this house for a weekend party, and your family moved in without permission? That's correct. And they made permanent modifications to the property? Fabian gestured around the room. Mounted TVs, painted walls, installed furniture. They even hung a chandelier. Did you give them permission to do any of this? The officer asked me. No. I told them it was my house, but I never said they could move in or make changes. But you didn't stop them either. I'm not their legal guardian. They're adults who made their own choices. Officer Martinez looked around the room, taking in the expensive furniture and fresh paint. This had to cost thousands of dollars. Probably more, Jacob said. That sectional alone looks like it cost $5,000. Who paid for it? I pulled out my credit card. They used this, without permission. You want to press charges for credit card fraud? I looked at the card in my hand. The same card I'd used to pay their rent 5 years ago. The same card that had maxed out keeping them afloat while they figured out their next move. No, I just want them gone. The officer finished his report and left. Fabian and Jacob stood in their living room looking shell-shocked. I need a drink, Jacob said. Make it 2, Fabian replied. I started gathering my things. I should go. I'm sorry again about all this. Wait, Fabian said. Can I ask you something? Sure. Was it worth it? I thought about my family driving away, probably arguing about whose fault this was. About Callie crying over her lost nursery. About Blair's face when she realized I'd planned the whole thing. Ask me tomorrow. I drove home to my real house, the modest bungalow that suddenly felt like a palace. No one else's belongings cluttering the rooms. No one else's opinions about how I should live my life. Just silence and space and the freedom to exist without justification. My phone started ringing immediately. First call, Blair. I let it go to voicemail. Second call, Kyle. Voicemail. Third call, Callie. I almost answered, then remembered her hand on my credit card, her assumptions about my guest room, her casual dismissal of my boundaries. Voicemail. The calls kept coming. 23 missed calls in the first hour. I turned off my phone and ran a bath. The next morning, I turned my phone back on to find 47 missed calls and 32 text messages. Most were from my family, but a few were from numbers I didn't recognize. The first voicemail was Blair crying. How could you do this to us? We're homeless because of you. Your pregnant sister is sleeping in a car because of your selfishness. The second was Kyle, angry. This is not how family treats family. Your mother is devastated. Call us back. The third was Callie, desperate. Please, Kayla. I'm sorry if we overstepped. But I'm 8 months pregnant. I need help. Please. I deleted them all without listening to the rest. At work, the story had already spread. Sarah cornered me at the coffee machine. Is it true? About your family? Depends what you heard. That they were squatting in some rich guy's house and got arrested? They weren't arrested, just asked to leave. But they thought it was your house. They made assumptions. Sarah's eyes were wide. Wow, that's actually kind of brilliant. Is it? I mean, they basically stole your credit card and redecorated someone else's house. That's insane. By lunch, the whole office knew. Some people thought I was cruel. Others thought my family had it coming. Most just wanted to hear the story again. You should post this online, my coworker Mike said. Reddit would eat this up. I'm not looking for internet fame. No, but seriously, this is like the perfect revenge story. Family thinks they can walk all over you. You let them dig their own grave, then boom. Consequences. I went home for lunch to escape the attention. My real home, where no one could find me or demand explanations. The doorbell rang as I was making a sandwich. Nick stood on my porch looking exhausted. Can we talk? I let him in, curious despite myself. Callie's at my apartment, he said. She's been crying for 12 hours straight. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Really? I considered the question. I'm sorry she's upset. I'm not sorry about what happened. She wants me to call you, to beg you to help. And? I told her no. We sat in my small living room, the contrast with yesterday's mansion stark and somehow comforting. She's talking about the baby, Nick said. how Kyle James deserves better than this. Kyle James will be fine. Babies don't need crystal chandeliers. That's what I told her. He leaned forward. Can I ask you something? Sure. How long have you been planning this? Since the day they moved into my apartment and never left. 5 years? Give or take. Nick whistled low. That's dedication. That's survival. And now? I looked around my quiet house, at the single coffee mug on the table, the book I'd been reading, the life I'd built without anyone's permission or approval. Now I get to find out who I am when I'm not fixing everyone else's problems. And if they never forgive you, then I'll know I made the right choice. Nick stood to leave. For what it's worth, I think you did. They've been using you for years. Someone had to stop it. After he left, I sat in my garden with a cup of tea, watching the sunset paint my small yard in shades of gold. No pool, no marble countertops, no crystal chandelier. Just peace. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Rosalind from next door to the house. I got your number from the police report. I recorded everything yesterday. Thought you should know it's already got 50,000 views on Facebook. I stared at the message, then typed back, what's the caption? Entitled family gets evicted from house they don't own. People are calling it karma. I set my phone aside and finished my tea. Karma. Maybe that's exactly what it was. The video went viral. By Monday morning, Rosalind's Facebook post had been shared over 200,000 times. The comments section was brutal. Imagine being so entitled you redecorate someone else's house. The pregnant sister crying about her nursery. Girl, it was never yours. This is what happens when parents never teach consequences. At work, people kept showing me their phones. Have you seen this? It's everywhere. I had seen it. The video was crystal clear. My family being escorted out by police, Blair sobbing, Kyle arguing with Fabian, Callie clutching her belly dramatically. The internet had no mercy. You're famous, Sarah said, not entirely kindly. People are calling you the revenge house girl. Great. Some are saying you went too far, that you're heartless. And others? Others are saying your family got exactly what they deserved. My phone had been ringing non-stop. News outlets wanting interviews, podcasters wanting to tell my story. I ignored them all. The only call I answered was from Vada. How are you holding up? She asked. I'm fine. Liar, this is bigger than we expected. It's just internet noise. It'll die down. Will it? Because TMZ just called my office asking about you. I hung up and turned off my phone. That evening, I was watering my garden when a car pulled up. Callie got out slowly, her pregnancy making every movement deliberate. She looked exhausted. We need to talk, she said. Do we? I had the baby. I stopped watering. What? Yesterday, emergency C-section, all the stress. She touched her stomach. He's in the NICU. Despite everything, my chest tightened. Is he okay? He will be. But Kayla, I almost lost him. Because of what you did. Because of what I did? Or because you spent a week illegally occupying someone else's house? You could have stopped us. I could have. But I didn't have to. Callie's eyes filled with tears. He's so small. And he's alone in that hospital while everyone online is laughing at us. I'm sorry about the baby. I really am. But the rest of it, you brought on yourselves. We're family. No, we're not. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't manipulate and guilt and take without asking. So that's it? You're just done with us? I looked at my sister, standing in my driveway, asking me to fix another problem she'd created. The same pattern we'd been stuck in for years. Yeah, I'm done. She nodded slowly, like she'd expected this answer. Mom wants to sue you. For what? Emotional distress. Fraud. She's talking to lawyers. Tell her good luck proving I committed fraud by not stopping you from trespassing. Callie walked back to her car, then turned around. You know what the worst part is? What? I actually thought you'd changed, that you finally wanted us in your life. I did change. I learned to put myself first. And this is what that looks like? I watched her drive away, then went inside and made dinner for one. The house felt different now. Not just quiet, but settled. Like it had been holding its breath and could finally exhale. My doorbell rang an hour later. I opened it to find a delivery driver holding flowers. Kayla? That's me. The arrangement was massive. White lilies and roses with a card that read, "Thank you for the most entertaining week of our lives. Fabian and Jacob." I laughed despite myself. At least someone had enjoyed the show. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a check for $3,000 and a note from Blair. "For the credit card charges, we don't want to owe you anything." The check was signed by Kyle, but the handwriting was Blair's. Even in defeat, she couldn't resist one last manipulation, making it seem like they were doing me a favor by paying back money they'd stolen. I deposited the check and used it to buy new furniture for my real house. A comfortable couch, a proper dining table, artwork that I actually liked, making the space mine in a way I'd never been able to before. 3 weeks passed. The internet moved on to other scandals. The calls stopped coming. My coworkers found new gossip to obsess over. I was pruning roses in my garden when Nick appeared at my gate. "How's the baby?" I asked. "Good. Healthy. He's home now." "And Callie?" "Struggling, but that's not new." "What do you want, Nick?" "To thank you." I looked up from my roses. "For what?" "For showing me who she really is. I filed for divorce yesterday." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. You did me a favor. I was so focused on trying to save our marriage that I couldn't see how toxic it was." He handed me an envelope. "This is for you." Inside were photos, screenshots from social media, printed articles, forum discussions, all about my story. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you should see what people are really saying, not just the cruel stuff. Look." I flipped through the pages. Mixed in with the harsh comments were others. "This woman is a hero. Sometimes you have to protect yourself from toxic family." I wish I had her courage. My family has been using me for years. "She didn't hurt anyone. She just stopped enabling them. This is what boundaries look like." "You inspired people," Nick said. "Women mostly. People who've been in similar situations." I wasn't trying to inspire anyone. Maybe that's why it worked. After he left, I sat on my porch reading through the comments. Stories from people who'd been financially abused by family members, adult children who'd been guilted into supporting parents who refused to support themselves, siblings who'd been overshadowed and undervalued their entire lives. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I saw your story online. I just told my mother she can't move in with me. Thank you for showing me it's okay to say no." Then another. "Because of you, I finally set boundaries with my sister. She's furious, but I'm free." And another. "Your story gave me the courage to leave my toxic family behind. I'm happier than I've been in years." I set my phone aside and looked at my garden. The roses were blooming, the vegetables were growing, and everything was exactly where I'd planted it. No one had moved my things or made decisions for me or told me I was doing it wrong. The sun was setting, painting my small yard in shades of gold and pink. It wasn't a mansion with a pool and marble countertops. It didn't have crystal chandeliers or imported furniture, but it was mine. And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. I didn't want them out of my house. I wanted them to feel what it's like to be unwanted, the way I always was. Does that make me cruel? Maybe. But it sure feels like karma wears my smile.